Field out of turn number 4. We'll review the starting grid for you again in just a moment. You see one of the safety cars dropping onto the inside and coming down onto pit road. It's Benny Parsons and Harry Gant for row 1. Cale Yarborough, twice a winner here, and Buddy Baker, who won it back in 1980 at the fastest clip ever in the history of this race, in row 2. Row 3 is Terry Labonte and Darrell Waltrip. Row 4, Bobby Allison and Joe Ruttman. Strong candidate, that Ruttman. Row 5, Air Supertex, A.J. Foyt, looking for his first stock car win since 1972 when he won this as well as Ontario, California. Dale Earnhardt's in that row with him, and then in row 6, it's Dave Marcus and Kyle Petty, who never looked better than the 125-mile qualifying races this past Thursday. Row 7, Rick Wilson and Neil Bonnet. What a tenacious driver he is. Row 8, Richard Brooks and Ricky Rudd. Going to row 9, you have Jimmy Sauter and Elliott Forbes Robinson, the former Can-Am and Trans Am champion. Then comes Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott in row 10. The 11th row, Richard Petty, about where he usually qualifies, and Ron Bouchard, who won that stunning race at Talladega on CBS last August. Row 12 is Jody Ridley and Good Shepherd. Moving to row 13, the great Indianapolis veteran, all the way from 33rd to 2nd there 2 years ago, Tom Sneva, and Mark Martin 3 times. He's only 23 years old, ASA champion out of the Midwest. Row 14, Joe Milliken and Bobby Womack. Then going to row 15, Donnie Allison and Ty Scott. Row 16, Gary Ballou and Lake Speed. In row 17, J.D. McDuffie, Jeff Bodine. Row 18, Billy Harvey and Lowell Cowell. Going to row 19, Del McCord and Rose Smith. Row 20, it's Buddy Arrington and Jimmy Means. And then in row number 21, Stan Barrett and Tommy Gale. Stand back. They're about to turn them loose here at Daytona. Benny Parsons nestled on the pole. The 4th straight year that the Harry Ranier 28 car carried his colors to the front position for this race.
More significantly, I suppose, of course, the fact that Waddell Wilson's been the crew chief on that car through all this time and is one of the best engine mans in North American NASCAR racing.
Down they come out of turn number 4. Harry Gant, the Bandit, up on the outside. Benny Parsons, 1975 Daytona 500-mile champion. As a standing ovation greets them at the starting line, as per usual, down to the flag. The green is out. Is underway. From Harry Gant's car, you see his brake as he goes down. Buddy Baker right behind him. Terry Labonte on the inside. Gant going high as he tries to squeeze through for the lead, but no, not to go his way. Benny Parsons goes out in front of number 28. The most dangerous part of the race, these first 15 or 20 laps, as they get up over 195 miles an hour. Cale Yarborough goes to the lead. And right behind him comes Harry Gant. Handsome Harry Gant goes into 2nd place. Richard Petty is moving up through traffic quickly. On the outside of him is Ricky Rudd in number 3. Back out of turn number 4, coming about to complete the first of 200 laps. At the stripe, Cale Yarborough first. Gant is in 2nd. Labonte is in 3rd. Parsons drops to 4th. Buddy Baker is in 5th.
500 miles to go, but you never know. Look at that go around here, just absolutely side by side in the most massive draft.
Joe Ruttman riding right behind number 11. That is Darrell Waltrip. Ruttman right there at full speed. Remember, he finished 2nd at Riverside, California. The last race of last year, many say he is the super dark horse of this race. Joe Ruttman, whose elder brother won in Indianapolis back in the early 50s. Harry Gant screaming down the back straightaway in car number 33, right there with Labonte.
Harry Gant's in the lead. So it's no good putting that in-car camera facing front.
He said all he wanted to see from his pictures today was nothing but clear track in front of him. And right now it is clear sailing for car number 33. And there's the picture out of the back window of Harry Gant's car. Right there is Terry Labonte, the young man who won Darlington 2 years ago and gets stronger. And look at him pull up in draft. Inches away at near 200 miles an hour. Incredible pictures.
Absolutely fantastic. And you get an idea from the way that fence is slingshotting by there. These guys are doing about 400 feet a second or close to at that stage.
Better than a football field a second. Bandit still out in front.
Darrell Waltrip going low there as they came around turn 4. Making a bit of a job cars at the front, going across the stripe side by side with Cale Yarborough.
Joe Ruttman going to the tri-oval to the 18-degree banking. Now watch him as he goes into turn number 1. We're back with the leaders again. He really has to fight that car in turn number 1 at that tremendous speed. Right in front of him is Dale Earnhardt.
You can see his hands struggling with that wheel. Tremendous G-forces at this stage, trying to throw that car high up against that outside retaining wall. The two leaders really, really nose to tail. Terry Labonte, car number 44, right there with Harry Gant in that green and white car number 33.
Bobby Allison dropping on the inside.
Petty, being closely following our second camera. And there's something broken away from the car there, going through turn 4. It looked like the rear spoiler.
Let's see who it came off from.
It was right.
There's a car in the wall. A big shot coming out of turn number 4. Milliken has crashed, and there's cars slithering and sliding down into turn number 4.
But I really think that piece of a car came off one of the front runners, and that must have caused the mayhem further back in the field. And that's Joe Milliken's number 50. Joe Milliken was one of the guys that I had down as an outside shot of winning this race.
There's what came off. Looks like a bumper came away.
It certainly does.
An entire bumper pulled off. There's number 66, Lake Speed from Mississippi. His car battered in the back end. The average speed until the caution was 192 miles per hour. They're coming back to the line. They're coming very slowly up through turn number 4. Number 23, Jeff Bodine has come in, and here are pictures from Joe Ruttman's car as he comes around through where the Holocaust took place in turn number 4.
There was a piece of debris lying in the track there, whatever it was in the first place. It's kind of early for these guys to stop for a pit stop to put any gas in. At this stage, it will hardly be worthwhile. But that really has broken up this field. There's some quite good potential cars got wiped out in that horrendous.
Earnhardt has moved into 3rd. Buddy Baker now in the 4th position. And we're going to have a chance to look in replay as Joe Milliken clambers out of car number 50, the Cliff Stewart car, number 50, Joe Milliken, out of his car. And let's look in replay and see if we can spot what happened here.
There we see the thing flying through the air. So it definitely came off that first bunch of 10 cars. And I guess it lands on somebody. Yes, it hits Joe Milliken right in the windshield there. Is that Milliken that finally loses?
Yes, it was. It was Milliken.
It landed right on his windshield. Well, no wonder he lost control. And as you can see, he sets up the most tremendous dust and smoke screen, which makes visibility for the people behind him almost impossible. And then before you know where you are, there's cars just going everywhere. Look at them all. It's
the bumper off car number 88, they say, the Allison car. Here's Ned Jarrett.
Gary Nelson is the crew chief on it. Gary, what's the problem?
Well, Bobby told me somebody bumped him from the rear, turned him sideways, and apparently knocked the bumper off.
Are you bringing him in?
We're having Bobby pulled up alongside of another car to have him look at the quarter panel to see if the tire was rubbing. If the tire's not rubbing, we're going to stay out.
Okay, so it must have been a pretty clean-cut bumper coming off of there, Ken. That's unusual to lose a bumper in a Daytona 500, but you never know what's going to happen next.
It seems pretty unusual for a bumper to fly with these guys touch all the time, and I would have thought it would have taken. Let's see if we can see if touch.
They say we have another replay, and we may actually see Allison getting touched. Who says these guys don't get together out there? There's Cale right behind the 88. And there's the bumper disengaging itself. Now, remember, they're covering 300 feet a second, so the shot could have come to the back of car 88 before our shot began. Car number 27, Yarborough right there. Now they're picking up Lake Speed's car number 66.
Certainly looks as if the bumper came off on its own.
Here is Ned Jarrett with Joe Milliken.
Joe Milliken was driving. The car number 50 was involved in that altercation. Joe, what happened there?
Well, Ned, I don't know. I seen something, something fell off somebody's car and was sliding across the racetrack. And I run across it and blew the right front tire out, and then I hit the wall.
It was a bumper off of Bobby Allison's car.
I didn't know what it was. I seen it sliding on the racetrack, and just as I run across it, blew my right front tire out, and I just hit the wall.
You seem to be okay, though.
Yeah, it tore the car up, and I'm all right.
Well, that's too bad. He was running awfully good. Had high hopes here today of a good finish.
Joe Milliken, who has raced here 3 previous times in his 4th Daytona 500, 31 years old, a protege of Richard Petty, had actually won a Sportsman 300. That's the prelude race that they operate each Saturday before the Sunday 500. And he has had some consistent finishes over the years. Over half of the 67 races that he's run, he finished in the top 10. We're under caution with 6 laps complete, and Harry Gant leads the Daytona 500. After a horrific crash, we are still in our caution period, the first one of the day, coming in lap number 3. Ned Jarrett is standing by with one of the victims of that accident.
And it's Lake Speed who was driving the car number 66. Lake, how did you see it happen?
Well, I was just kind of watching the traffic in front of me, really trying to wait until everything's sorted out before I tried to make any moves. And coming off the 4th corner, I looked up in front of me and I saw a car turn right like you said now into the wall. I knew there was going to be a lot of traffic, and so I started checking it up and waving to the people behind me to slow down. But I had to get in that smoke. As you see all that smoke, I entered it and didn't know what was going on. About that time, I got clipped from the back end, and it spun me, you know, turned me and got me going across the track into the wall. You see right there where I got clipped in the back end, it turned me.
You were sort of at the mercy of whatever was going to happen right there.
Yep, when that smoke, I went into that smoke and I knew, well, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And about that time, I felt I got a lick from the back.
Lake, how were the track conditions before this happened?
Everything was fine. The car felt fine to me. You know, I think everybody was more or less just sort of waiting until it kind of lined out, and then they started making the moves.
Well, we're sorry you had this problem here this early in the race, but glad you're okay.
Well, thank you. I'm just sorry for my sponsors, the Kings Inn, and all the other people, Roger Hamby and the crew, that did such a good job of preparing the car before I got down here. And, you know, we made a really good run in qualifying, and we really hope to do a lot better.
Well, Ken, this fella could qualify for a commentator the way he described that accident there.
Indeed he could. 34-year-old Lake Speed, the 1978 World Karting Champion, running his first Daytona 500 a year ago. He won the consolation race but failed to make the 500. Number 23 is being pulled back behind the wall. That'll become the 3rd car to retire after that incident. And the left rear quarter panel on the Bob and Richard Bear car from Oxford, Maine, being driven by Jeff Bodine, becomes the 3rd car out of the race. And you can see they're still picking up debris up in the banking of turn number 4, David.
And there you see that guy. It gives you some idea of just how steep that banking is when you see that man standing on it.
Minus a bumper. Traffic violation there for car number 88.
Absolutely. I feel particularly sorry, I must add, for Lake Speed. I came down here on the same airplane as him, kept bumping to him in all sorts of odd dark bars. And I'm sorry to see him out of the race and out of Daytona so soon.
3 cars have gone back to the garage area, and now I believe we're going to see a 4th come out. They're reporting that Billy Harvey also will retire with an engine problem. And we also have a report there are 2 cars with cracked windshields. One is number 02, Mark Martin. Originally came out of Arkansas, now out of New Albany, Indiana. And number 17 car is also Lowell Cowell's machine, showing a cracked windshield. There's the bumper missing on the back of car number 88, Bobby Allison. When you see these cars perched up on the 31-degree banking, it's fun to look at from here, but from inside those race cars, it's a totally different perspective. We asked Tom Sneva about the visibility from a race car on the banking of the Daytona Speedway.
Well, you don't see much once you get into the banking, so it's very important to take a look before you get to the corner. Look across the racetrack and see if there's any trouble developing, because once you get onto the banking, the vision is very limited.
Less than what, 300 feet, David?
I would say about that, yeah. It depends how low your windshield, the roofline comes, of course, the blanking you have across the shield. But it is very difficult, and as he says, you've got to have a jolly good look before you get there to make sure that it's clear before you arrive.
There is the picture from Joe Ruttman's car, car number 2. Ruttman out of Upland, California, with a car that has been strong all through the week, through time trials and the 125-mile qualifying races on Thursday. And as we come toward 10 laps, let's review how the cars are running out here at the present time. Harry Gantz, number 33, is up on the point. Terry Labonte is in 2nd. Bobby Allison maintains 3rd. A little tentative out there now. Without that rear bumper, it should have an effect on the aerodynamics
Well,
of
it
his
won't
car.
help him at all.
The 4th place car overall is Dale Earnhardt. Running 5th on the field is Buddy Baker. The 6th place car is Cale Yarborough. 7th is Waldrip. The 8th place car was the man who sat on the pole, Benny Parsons. Then in 9th is Joe Ruttman, from whom you just saw those pictures. Then in the 10th position is Kyle Petty in number 42. The 11th position is Neil Bonnet, while resting 12th is Dave Marcus. 13th overall is Ricky Rudd, and 14th is A.J. Foyt. Once again, here's Ned Jarrett.
Billy Harvey just pulled into the garage area in car number 31. They're working on the car there, Billy. First one went wrong.
Well, in the beginning of the race, when we started, the motor started missing a little bit, and then it tried to act like it wanted to clear up, and we kept going, and then just before that caution come out, it just down the back straightaway, the motor just died on it.
Well, he's working on it. Will he be able to fix it?
We're trying to see if it dropped the valve or not. If, you know, we're not at this time, we're not sure what it is, and we're hoping we can fix it to get back out.
Well, of course, he's losing a lot of valuable time. Now let's go to pit road and Larry Newber.
Well, Ned, I'm in Cal Yarborough's pit. This is Tim Brewer, the crew chief. And, Tim, you got some more information on the beginning of that incident, do you not?
Well, Cale said that Bob and he touched, but I got a feeling that somewhere along the lines that bumper was intended to come off, and I don't know, you know, in what manner it was, you know, fastened on the car, but it wasn't fastened on there good enough to stay.
As near as you can tell, is your car still in perfect working condition?
Well, you know, it didn't hurt the car, and it might have damaged some of the front sheet metal, but the car's pretty much still intact. It's, you know, didn't damage our car, but the bumper went right over the top of Buddy Baker's car, and that's wanting an awful lot to want to win that way.
Well, Ken, an early incident for a couple of the top runners, but it looks like Cale is okay.
Well, there you heard it from Tim Brewer, claiming that bumper was set to come off, perhaps to help the aerodynamics. Is that what he's saying, David?
Well, I think he's saying it's set to come off to upset the field. I can't imagine how it would help the aerodynamics. It can only hinder the aerodynamics. And if what he says is, if he really thinks what he says, I mean, that's a pretty serious accusation to make against another team.
I find that hard to believe. Here they are coming down. Look at the monitor again. It's car number 50, Milliken, in the Cliff Stewart car. Wraps the outside retainer solidly, and behind him, that evasive action. Now, Richard Petty has fallen back to 19th. He really got on the binders. He wasn't going to take any chances.
And as usual, Richard Petty just managed to get away with it here at Daytona. Is, I guess, his all-time favorite track. The cars have got one lap to go on this caution before they come up to the green flag again to continue the running of this Daytona 500. 11 laps have now been completed. Only 189 to go.
27.5 miles down to the Daytona 500. $925,000 at stake, and there you see the story, which isn't very much at the present time. After an exciting start, 2 laps of really good racing. Caution coming on here, and Harry Gant continues to stay out in front. We have a couple of cars on pit road. That is Morgan Shepherd in car number 98. Won his first Grand National race last year at Martinsville, Virginia. Buddy Parrott, you saw the crew chief pounding on the side of the car to indicate to Morgan to get out there and get with it. Here he is coming back on the track. Morgan Shepherd ran for Rookie of the Year last year and placed second to Ron Bouchard, who's out here this afternoon in car number 47, making his first Daytona 500 appearance.
Ron Bouchard, of course, won the Talladega 500 last year, seen on CBS television, and has been running very well this week. Made a very good dash in the Clash last week, and I've got high hopes for young Ron Bouchard.
All right, we're ready for resumption as they come around to complete lap number 12. It's number 33, the Bandit, Harry Gant, in the green and white livery, coming down to the stripe as we are ready to resume the great American race. And there's the picture from Harry Gant's car as they scoot down through the tri-oval and go for turn number 1. Down to the inside, drops Bobby Allison. Allison pulls up alongside. He's going to go wheel-to-wheel with Gant. There he is. Look at this picture as he goes right up, and you're watching Bobby Allison from inside Harry Gant's car take first place. Terry Labonte dropping back to third, holding on in there. Dale Earnhardt is fourth.
Now, this would be a good opportunity to have a look at that bumper damage from close up, but old Harry Gant's not telling that too long, and he's right alongside him again as they go into turn 3 at the end of that fast back straight, going close to 200 miles an hour here, and there's Dale Earnhardt coming up on the inside.
To second place, Allison on the outside in third. Buddy Baker back there just a bit. Labonte is in fourth. Then Baker is in fifth. Back they come.
Earnhardt slipped into second spot. Terry Labonte's alongside him as they go over the line.
Bobby Alvaro is sixth. Darrell Waltrip runs in seventh. Back at turn number 1. Eighth place car, Benny Parsons. Ninth place car, Joe Ruttman. Richard Petty beginning to make some maneuvers out of that 19th position. Here they are in the back straightaway. And another pass for the lead is going to put Dale Earnhardt, who had a dismal 1980 Grand National champion, made over $500,000. And then he went cold in 1981, didn't score a victory. Hoping to change all that this afternoon.
Back in turn 3, I think Kyle Petty is going to come into the pits. His father just passed on the back straight, and Kyle Petty is slowing down and coming into the pits. This is going to be a big disappointment for that young man, as Dale Earnhardt takes the lead
Petty, who drove a magnificent 125-mile qualifying race in the pits. Here's Ned.
They're changing the left side tires. Apparently they had one going down. A tough break here for a young fellow that had his hopes very high here today. The left front is the one that's giving the problem. So apparently he ran over something during that caution period. The tire did go flat. He's going back now. He's going to stay in the lead lap, but can he do it not being in the draft?
He's going to have to go like hell because he just crossed the start-finish line as the leaders come onto lap, come down to the start-finish line. Right on which...
A caution flag is coming out. That's going to save Kyle Petty. Allison whips across the stripe as they took caution, and Kyle Petty is redeemed from a one-lap deficit. As you look at Harry Gant in the Bandit, car number 33. Harry, who had been leading, now is propped up in 4th spot, right in front of Buddy Baker.
Well, they brought that caution flag out for what looked like a piece of aluminium, or aluminum as you'd call it here, on the track, right under the start-finish line, and of course right under our box. But it was, in fact, a piece of silver tape, silver duct tape, which, of course, does keep Kyle Petty on the same lap as the leader. How very fortuitous the debris is on this track, sometimes, for some people. Oh, Kyle Petty's car doesn't sound right.
Engine sounds really odd
as he went round.
Yesterday won the prelude to the 500, the Sportsman 300. Earnhardt winning with Jody Ridley second and Sam Ard third. So again, he has found victory lane after that very shallow season he had in 1981. The third place car on the track presently is Cale Yarborough. Maintaining 4th position is Harry Gant. Buddy Baker sustains 5th out here with 16 laps complete in the Daytona 500. Ready for resumption under green. They are working the 18th lap. When they come by, they'll have completed 45 miles, and they'll be back in a green flag condition with Bobby Allison in front and Dale Earnhardt nipping away in 2nd spot. Earnhardt, one of those Ford Thunderbirds. They have been drafting well, but they seem to be a little off on the after run by themselves. Here they come, down for a start. Safety car circulates out of 3 and 4, and we're just about set to turn them loose as we look out of Joe Ruttman's car another time as he moves to the line. Joe Ruttman's automobile coming down, running back in about 9th or 10th position now. Green is out. Ruttman from his 9th spot makes a move on the outside. You see him go all the way up to the wall. He's the yellow car close to the picture. Now he dives down a bit as he comes out of the tri-oval and moves in behind number 71. Another one of those 7 Stacy cars in the track. They're lined up like on parade, those Stacy mobiles.
That was Dave Marcus, who went around the outside of Ruttman as they went to the tri-oval here. Ruttman made up 2 or 3 spots there, making a very good restart of this race.
Joe Ruttman has a Valentine to his wife attached to the automobile. As you look at it there, it says, "Hi, Harpo." That's his wife and kids. Happy Valentine's Day from Father Joe at better almost 200 miles an hour as he heads around the speedway.
It happen in America.
Allison still first. Earnhardt still locked to him in 2nd place. And look at this 20-car freight train down at turns 1 and 2.
Well, an old bumper loss doesn't seem to, unless it weighed about 200 pounds. And he's had a quick weight loss, but it seems to be not affecting his car too badly, but I can't believe it's as good as it should be.
There's Bobby Allison, the man up in front in the white and green car, number 88.
Cale Yarborough there, number 27, running in 3rd spot. He's going to be a tough guy to beat today because he's been running consistently well all week, but hasn't been making a big show of it. I can tell you, won his qualifying race on Thursday. I wouldn't be, if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be keeping him out of my mind. Just look at that freight train now.
And Buddy Baker in that red car, who's been here since 1961, won this race in an incredible time of 177 mile-an-hour average. I tell you, these fans have got something to watch today and to cheer about. Up in front, it remains Bobby Allison in car number 88, holding that lead from Dale Earnhardt in the Ford as they go down the back straightaway. Allison driving a Buick just on the point, but here comes the Thunderbird down to the inside as they go to turn 3.
Well, it is, in fact, a 24-car draft, and there's 2 other cars just a little bit away, so you could make it a 26. Ron Bouchard just clipped hit the wall then in turn 3. A light touch, but I'm sure he touched it. Look at this. Well, the 26-car draft, he comes across the start finish line.
Here's Harry Gant's car, number 33. He's running in 5th position. Gant now in 5th spot. Out of his back window. You look at Terry Labonte staring into his rear view mirror. Here's Labonte trying to move to the inside. Harry Gant throws him a block, stays up in front, and there they are on that long back straightaway where, if you dare, you take a breath. Now we have Cale Yarborough going in first, Allison to second. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Ken, we talked at the top of the show about A.J. Foyt coming back here today after that injury. Donnie Allison is in a similar position. The folks watched on CBS from the World 600 last May when Donnie was injured, and this is the first race that he has run in since then. We're standing with Harold Fagan, who's the crew chief on that car. Harold, have you heard from him? How's he doing?
Oh, he's been talking to me on the radio. He says everything's going fine. The car feels good. He said he's just going to sit there a while and ride and try to stay with the lead pack, and then if we're lucky enough to be around 100 miles to go, I think he'd be right to pick it.
Has he said how he feels?
He feels good, you know, and he's happy the way we had a lot of problems early in the week with engines and stuff. We've got some good engine in there now, and everything's going good, and he's pretty confident. He just wants to sit and get his bearings after, you know, his wreck and all that. And I think, you know, like I said, if we're around with 100 miles or 200 miles to go, I believe he'll be right up there running.
Well, time will tell on that, but Ken, he, like A.J. Foyt, was very anxious to get back in a race car.
Back they come to the tri-oval to complete the 23rd lap. Right up around 192 mile an hour average. These 3,700-pound cars. It was Gary Smith that wrote velocity times mass equals awe. Boy, it's short through here in this Daytona 500. Allison still in front. Yarborough in second. Earnhardt maintaining third. We have an engine going in turn number 4. Car slowing on the outside, or the turn 2. On the outside of the second turn. The car began to lose an engine and slow down, and I think it's car number 13.
That's Richard Brooks's car. The car that David Pearson drove last week in the Busch Clash. There we see Richard Brooks.
So that's another Ford.
His car didn't run really very well all week. He hasn't been very, very happy. On the other hand, of course, I'm sure he wanted to stay in the hunt in this race. That last lap was about 191 miles an hour. So these guys really aren't hanging around. If they get a long 20 or 30 lap run, that's a better view, isn't it? Oh no, sorry, there we are. Bobby Allison still leads from Dale Earnhardt. Boy, I bet Dale Earnhardt's feeling happy today because he had a terrible season last season. And Bud Moore hasn't won all that many races over the last decade. And they're looking very, very, very strong here today, and they did in the qualifying heat on Thursday.
There's Joe Ruttman chasing Darrell Waltrip once again. What a square off they're having. That big freight train, and I mean big one. First to 24th position. How about this? First to 24th, 5 4/10 of a second. Here's Larry Newber with the report.
We're in Dale Earnhardt's pit. This is Bud Moore, the crew chief. And Bud, when Donnie Allison ran over that debris, it affected your machine too, did it not?
Well, on the lap before, there was a piece of metal came off right at the start-finish line, and Bobby Allison ran over it without no rear bumper and throwed it through our windshield on the right side. So we only have a small hole there. We're hoping it don't give any trouble, but we're prepared to put a windshield in if we have to.
Well, Ken, they're watching it closely, but as all the crews have, there's a spare one right down here.
But of course, it's a time-consuming job. And it's one of those things that if it happens on a caution and you can get it done and it's a good long caution, fine. But otherwise, of course, it would be a tremendous nuisance. Another 192 mile an hour lap.
Dale Earnhardt tucked right in behind Bobby Allison. Earnhardt looking for his 7th career win. Let's have some thoughts from Brock Yates here as we complete 26 laps and what we have seen thus far. Brock?
You know, Ken, we always talk about the young lions in this race and how sort of fantasize about how youngsters are going to come in here and run with the veterans, but hard fact is it's just not possible. It usually takes from 5 to 7 years to get to run with the leaders in this league, and if we look back over the past decade, we've really only had 3 superstars enter the ranks, Waltrip, Bonnet, now Earnhardt. But we've got one out there now in 6th place. I think the next man, the next big candidate. That's Terry Labonte in car number 44. Terry's starting his 5th year in this racing league. He's got Jake Elder, one of the finest
finest chief mechanics in his pit. He's got a good car owner. He's got a lot of money, and he's getting more and more experience behind his belt on each lap. So I say if that car keeps running, watch out for Terry.
He is now running up in the 6th spot in the Buick Regal that was entered by Billy Hagan, a Louisiana entry, in this 24th run into the Daytona 500. Here's Allison, looking awfully good. He looked terrific out here in the Busch Clash a week ago. That incredible 50-mile, 20-lap shootout among all the pole qualifiers of the winners of the previous season. This car, number 88, just ran on a rail the entire distance. Second place automobile continues to be Earnhardt, holding on to 3rd. Dale Yarborough. Then comes Buddy Baker in the red car in the 4th position. And
as you can see, these guys, there's Richard Petty at the moment, who's way back in 20th place about. And he's in the 2nd main group. There's the front lead group. We see a side-by-side situation here. Basically, that front 14 cars have stayed together in single file and have managed to pull themselves away from the 2nd group of 8 cars, in which is Richard Petty and Elliott Forbes-Robertson, the road racer, probably doing better here than he's ever done before in car number 96.
Past the grandstand.
In that lead group, right at the back there, is car number 62. That's a guy who's done very well this week, and that's Rick Wilson. He finished 7th in the qualifying heat, and he's running in that front group right now. He's right at the back of it, but he's hanging on to the lead group.
1st to 14, 1 and 8/10 of a second. Less than 2 seconds between 1st and 14th, as Dale Earnhardt of Kannapolis, North Carolina, in the Bud Moore prepared Ford, a change from a year ago for Dale Earnhardt, stays out in front. Allison about a car length, 2 car lengths behind him in that 2nd place as they wheel to the 4th turn. As they come by, they are completing the 30th of the 200 laps. Let's go back inside Joe Ruttman's car. Joe Ruttman running in the 8th position. Joe Ruttman described the 8 and 10 car drafts through the banking of Daytona for us earlier this week. Here's what he said.
It's just a phenomenal feeling. It's just pulling you along, and the car, as you get further back in the draft, you know, the car is controlled more by air than by the driver's steering wheel. So as far as the field is concerned, you're somewhat helpless in certain situations as you get further and further back in the draft situation. The air is taking the car versus maybe you driving the car.
Joe Ruttman in 8th position. Directly in front of him in 7th is the car number 11. As they sweep around a lapped automobile, Tommy Gale down on the inside of the track. And now you're looking out the back of the automobile as they continue to keep the hammer down around lapped cars. Ruttman running in 8th. Directly in front of him, Waltrip in 7th. Neither has ever won the Daytona 500. There are the men up in front. Dale Earnhardt stays 1st. Allison lurks in 2nd. Yarborough 3rd. But look for a change right here, David.
Allison yet again takes the lead away from Dale Earnhardt. They're just sort of playing around there at the moment. They've got an awful lot of laps to go yet, 170-odd laps to go. So winning these laps really doesn't count for an awful lot. But of course, the idea of the draft is that if it helps you to get together with somebody, if they keep on passing and repassing enough, they could just make a break on Buddy Baker, which would be absolutely great in the event of a caution period, or of course in a pit stop situation. They can pull away. That'll suit them just fine.
Jim Sauter is staying right up with the leaders. He is a protege of David Marcus. He comes out of Nettica, Wisconsin. And this guy, Sauter has been running off and on a little Grand National racing, but for the most part, he races out of the Midwest, David, on the half miles in what they call ARTCO racing. And Dave Marcus has been saying for a long time somebody should give him a chance. Finally, Stacy did. And thus far in the race, he's staying right here in the lead draft.
He is, in fact. He and Rick Wilson are bringing up the back of that lead draft, but the fact remains they are still with it, and that's the key.
The Goodyear Blimp America giving you these amazing pictures of this Daytona 500, where 120,000, they estimate, have gathered under perfect conditions today to see the running of the great American race. This tradition, this classic, actually goes back to 1901 when they first raced on the beach. Ransom Olds and the Winton Bullet went head-to-head at 57 miles an hour. Here's Larry Newbert.
Well, a year ago, if you wanted to win a pole, you hired Jake Suitcase Elder, but Jake, you found a home with the Levante team, haven't you?
Yeah, right now everything's really good and smooth and everything. I hope we do good this year.
Well, Jake, you crew chief for some of the very best in all of stock car and NASCAR racing. How do you stack up Terry Labonte against some of those all-time greats?
I think the boy's going to do all right because he's just like the rest of them young drivers. He's got a lot to learn, but he's getting smarter as the racing season goes on. He'll be all right by the middle of the season.
Well, Ken, Terry's only win in Grand National stock car racing has come on a super speedway just like Daytona.
Jake Suitcase Elder, who in 1 year worked for 7 different teams. Now there's number 3. That is the Richard Childress car that is being driven this year by Ricky Rudd. And it's a tire change, as you can see. And that's going to hurt his chances today.
Now you can see the crew chief there through the window rapidly working away. He's obviously jacking some weight into that car. He's not very happy with the handling. And that's one thing they can do on these NASCAR cars very, very quickly in a pit stop situation. But on a green, I don't know.
Average speed in the last 10 laps 20 to 30 was 191.898. 191.898.
We see Dale Earnhardt currently leading this race, or has been for the last 2.5 seconds. Looks like about to have it taken away from him again by Bobby Allison as they sweep into turns 1 and 2 there.
35 laps complete, 165 remaining. There is Earnhardt slowing down dramatically in the back straightaway.
I wonder if he's running out of fuel.
Something's amiss, and looks like a tire may be going down in the car. Very unstable, and everyone's passing Earnhardt up.
Well, I think he's just checking that out. I think he might have run out of fuel, and he's doing that to get fuel to the tank, to the collector tank.
The wild bunch becomes the thirsty bunch out here. They should be pitting in about the next 8 or 9 laps.
Well, they should be pitting now, 30 laps, 35, 36, but if he's run out of fuel on lap 35, that's not a very good omen.
True, because nobody pitted in that first caution period.
Here's Neil Bonnet. He's coming into fuel as well, so it's obviously time for the fuel stop.
So overestimating car number 2, Earnhardt, number 15 Earnhardt. 2 is old number, now being used by Joe Rutland. And here is Earnhardt coming on to pit road. He was able to squeeze enough fuel in to breathe it down onto the pit road. Let's go to Larry Newberg.
Well, Earnhardt comes to a stop. Not too much panic with the crew. They're checking right side tire. Fuel is going in. There was very little conversation among the crew members as Dale was coming in. The crew members were obviously a little surprised. Dale was in communications with his crew chief, and now the engine is stalled. They are having one heck of a time getting it to refire. The engine is definitely dead. Now it refires. A little bit of quick start being sprayed inside the carburetor through the vents on the top of the hoods, and finally it fires off, and Earnhardt is back on the racetrack.
But he's gone a lap down. Now Joe Rutland, who had been running in 8th place, is in as they clean off the windshield and fuel that car. There you see that new netting that they put in these cars this year. Let's go to Ned.
Yeah, these are scheduled pit stops. Most of them will change right side tires, fill it up with gasoline, as they did on Joe Rutland's car, number 2. He's out on the way. We see farther down pit road there, Richard Petty is in for his scheduled pit stop. You know, some of them might not have taken into consideration that they ran a couple of laps under the caution before the green was actually thrown before this race got underway. It's my opinion that some of them are stretching it a little bit too far, and I think that's a definite case with Dale Earnhardt. He just went 1 lap too many, and it could cost him.
Bobby Allison has slipped back into first place with 38 laps complete. Buddy Baker running in the 2nd spot. Cale Yarborough maintaining 3rd. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
As Jim Sauter was coming in, Ken, he got blocked in, almost crashed into another car that was coming out of the pit, but he used his head and got the car under control. They're changing the right side tires on his car and filling it up with gas, but that little extra time it took him to get into the pits is going to hurt him, and he was running in that lead draft.
Well, he had a bit of a contretemps with Donnie Allison as they came in. There was a bit of an after you, Claude, no after you, Cecil business went on, and that obviously cost him valuable time. But the one that really lost valuable time was Dale Earnhardt, who ran out of gas coming off turn 2, managed to coast back to the pits, but he lost a full half lap on his coast business, and then, of course, he had the pit stop on top of that. So he'll be well out of the hunt right now at the moment.
Here's Harry Gant coming on pit road. Number 33, Gant. The Bandit was running right up in that lead draft, taking on right side tires. Morgan Shepherd's car is having trouble firing on pit road.
No, that's Elliott Forbes Robertson.
Sorry,
he was doing pretty well too, old Elliott. One of them at feet road races. Now you can see already on Harry Gant's windscreen as he goes into that afternoon sunshine that the windscreens here at Daytona particularly get sandblasted. You know, the whole of Florida is just a giant sandbar really, And Daytona's no exception, and it does start to pit these screens. So if we want in-car shots, we really want them early in the race, because later on they're going to be very difficult.
Bobby Allison, who has been leading all of these pit stops taking place under green. Cale Yarborough is in. Terry Labonte is in. Parsons. Here's Ned Jarrett.
Bobby Allison is in for his scheduled pit stop also, and Ken, they're only changing the right side tires, putting in gas. They're not paying any attention to that rear bumper that's gone. Of course, it didn't seem to affect you too much. A very quick pit stop for Bobby Allison, but you can see the back end of that car has certainly been altered.
Buddy Baker now finds himself in first place. Going into the second position, Darrell Waltrip. And going to third, Dave Marcus, with fourth, Cale Yarborough. Here's Baker getting ready to make his pit stop as Richard Petty continues to meander around the speedway. He has stayed out of the thick battle up in front. Baker, the current leader, comes in, and right behind him comes Darrell Waltrip in number 11. There's a good look at Buddy Baker. Won the fastest 500-mile race in the history of motorsports right here at Daytona. At the same time, Waltrip is in. Here's Ned.
It's another quick tire change, Ken. I believe that's the fastest pit stop we've seen. Darrell Waltrip, the Junior Johnson crew, really got the job done in about 12.5 seconds.
And Darrell Waltrip, in fact, overtakes Buddy Baker as they leave the pits to lead Buddy Baker out of pit lane. And up there into the bank into turns 1 and 2.
They hang out the board for Ron Bouchard, about to make his pit stop. 41 laps are now complete. 41 complete, 159 to go, 102.5 miles down.
There we see, well, we don't see, but Buddy Baker going down the back straight. There we see 3 Stacy cars together. The Stacy team, number 19, number 71, and just in front of them is our cameraman, Joe Ruttman.
Gary Ballou is on the move in number 75. He's come from 31st. Now, he came dead out of the rear from about 33rd position up to fight with the leaders all day yesterday. And there's Dave Marcus, the new leader, number 71, Wausau campaigner out of Wisconsin.
And his protege, number 5, Jim Sauter, just right in front of him. And right behind him is number 90.
That's Jody Ridley. And here is car number 30 taking on some fuel at this point. That is the Roy Smith car, and this car was sent by the town of Victoria, British Columbia. They raised $35,000 to bring Roy Smith down here and represent Canada in this race. He's been here on previous occasions, a very fine driver, and he is the Western champion of NASCAR for the last 2 years. So Dave Marcus now is the leader with these pit stops. A.J. Foyt and Richard Petty continue to slug it out, but they're playing a waiting game at this point. Number 71, Marcus up in front. Richard usually waits till about halfway. And there is the Petty car checking on the positions. Richard Petty's automobile was still back at 30 and 40 laps at a 17th position on the overall field. Marcus stays out in front. Dave Marcus has 4 wins in his career, and most of them came in 1976. He won 3 races for Harry Hyde, including Talladega. Here's Larry Newbert.
Well, Ken, one of the young Lions who is getting a lot of conversation today is Rusty Wallace out of Missouri. Rusty is one of those drivers who performed well with the USAC and ASA stock car circuits before moving to the Grand National stock car circuit. Rusty came rolling down pit road, very silent and very somber in the face. He sat in the car for about 30 seconds. The crew looked under the hood and only briefly they buttoned him back down and pushed the car back behind the garage. Rusty Wallace, a big disappointing day.
Running for Rookie of the Year this year. 40 laps, 100 miles complete. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Dick Brooks was one of the victims of the race here a little bit earlier. Dick, what went wrong with car number 13?
Something inside the engine. I think we probably burned a piston. We've been kind of playing with the carburetor all week to try to get it a little bit faster, and we might have got it too lean.
Now, Dick, number 13 has been a superstition. You were driving a white car with green numbers on it. Green has been a superstition. Think that had anything to do with it?
What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. There's some red and white ones out there running, and there's some green ones out there running too. So I don't know. I think it's just a superstition way deep down. On the surface, I'm kind of like everybody else, a little bit superstitious. But
well, better luck next time around.
Happy Valentine, Mom. Is that what they say?
Dave Marcus has pitted, and he is coming back on the track, and the new leader number 88, and Earnhardt is running very slow on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, they took a long time to start that car in pit lane. Maybe it just ran out of engine and not fuel.
Problems for Dale Earnhardt. There's Harry Gant in car number 47, and right with him is Jim Sauter. And the overall complexion of the race, rather Ron Bouchard in the car that Harry Gant drove a year ago, that number 47, running in the 7th position overall. Number 98, Morgan Shepherd, has come back on pit road. Leaders come into turn number 1. Dale Earnhardt struggling to get back on pit road. Number 21 is in that lead group now. 15 appears to be overheating. You say there's steam from the right front corner of that automobile. Here are your leaders gathered up on the back straightaway with the white and green, number 88 in front, and the maroon and white, number 21, the Wood Brothers colors, the Warner Hodgson car, with Neil Bonnet of Hueytown, Alabama, goes into first.
And Dale Earnhardt, unfortunately for him, goes into the garage. What a disappointment. After bad year last year, not getting off to a very good start in 1982.
7th retiree from the race. Milliken, Speed, Bodine, Harvey, Brooks, Wallace, Earnhardt have all retired. Here's Larry Newberg.
Well, I am in Dale Earnhardt's pits, Ken. 2 years ago, Dale Earnhardt was the national champion. A victory yesterday in a sportsman race he had to be very optimistic about today, but apparently engine problems. Bud, what went wrong with the car?
Well, we ran out of gas, and I think that's why it started detonating. We blew a head gasket, so we were having to park it.
You were pretty surprised about the lack of mileage that you got out of that first load of fuel, less than 90 miles, right?
Yeah, we figured we could go 100 miles with all the caution, but it didn't work that way, and we was going to stretch it as far as we could, and we just stretched it a little too far, and it run it lean, it blew a head gasket, kind of running out of gas.
Well, Ken, there were some new rules that were instituted this year about straps that support the fuel tank. The tanks are designed to hold 22 gallons, but the straps are reducing the amount of fuel the tanks actually will hold. They won't expand as much as they did a year ago. This might be something for the other teams to keep in mind.
I think what the strap does is it makes the tank, make sure it does hold 22 gallons. They probably ran with a lot more than 22 gallons before.
CBS Sports live coverage of the Daytona 500 will continue after this word from your local station. We have completed 50 laps, 125 miles with Bobby Allison out in front. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Dale Earnhardt just coasted into the garage area. Of course, we heard from his car owner, Bud Morris, what happened to that car, Dale. But, boy, you had to feel off the bat about what did happen.
I did, Bud. Ford was running real well, and I was hoping we'd win a nothing for Wrangler down here at Daytona, and I think we blew a head gasket. It run out of gas about 5-6 laps before that, and we had to pit and get gas, and it might have leaned it out then and caused it to burn a piston or something.
Well, when he said win another one, he won the Sportsman 300 race here yesterday afternoon in a fine fashion at a shootout down to the wire with Jody Ridley. Dale, 1981 was not a good year for you. After having won the Grand National Championship in 1980, you felt that maybe starting right here today that this would be a turnaround for you.
Well, I thought it would. The car was really working well, and Bud and the guys had it working real well and running well, and I could go anywhere on the racetrack I wanted to, and Bobby and the rest of them was having to back out of the throttle going in the corner, and I could run in flat-footed, and the car was just going super.
There's some hard racing going on out there.
They are.
Well, he's able to smile a little bit, Ken. I don't know how after that big of a disappointment.
Well, I got to hand it to him as well. I must say it is terribly disappointing to be knocked out of a race so early. But Bobby Allison in car number 88 seems to have broken the draft with Joe Ruttman in car number 2 there, and seems set sail to pull away. And as long as there's no caution flags and he can continue to do that, it's pretty bad news for the rest of the guys in this race.
Kyle Petty on pit road, number 42. Again, another tire change on Kyle Petty's 42, and he's had his problems from the outset of this race. There's a Kyle Petty fan. That might be a Dale Earnhardt fan.
I don't think he's anybody's fan. He's reading some book down there in the corner.
Someone that's not running too well today, I'm sure. 50-lap rundown for 125 miles. Average speed, 148.466 miles per hour. With Allison in car number 88 continuing to lead. And you're looking inside of Joe Ruttman's car now, the number 9 car. He's back in 13th position and bustling by car number 18, Donnie Allison, at this point. Back here he is in the tri-oval area. There he is going by Petty, Kyle Petty, who's just come back on the track. This is the automobile of Joe Ruttman.
That certainly looks looks like Bobby Allison's car he's following with that bumper missing.
Number 3, that is Ricky Rudd with a hood up down there.
Yeah, his car's been sounding pretty rough.
Here's Larry Newbert.
I'm with Waddell Wilson, Benny Parsons' crew chief, pole setter 4 years in a row. Waddell, Benny is not running in that lead draft. What's wrong?
Well, the car is loose right now, and hopefully we can get a caution and tighten the car up to where it can run up front.
Now, this is a problem that you've had all week. Have you made major changes on the car? Was it a brand new setup for today?
Well, no, this same setup we've run all week, but, you know, in traffic, the car is loose.
Ned Jarrett is at the other end of pit row with another one of the retirees, Rusty Wallace. Ned?
Rusty from St. Louis, Missouri, one of the top rookie contenders this year. What went wrong?
Well, early today when Joe Milligan crashed up there, I got in this debris and cut a tire down, had to pit for 4 tires and put me way down. But later on in the race, the rear end gear just started to expire, just got hot, and we had to park it for today because of burned rear end gear.
Rusty, are your plans to continue to run for the Rookie of the Year honors in 1982?
Yes, they are. It's a bad start right now, but it looks like Landon's going to be our next race, so we'll try to make it up there.
Better luck next time around.
Thanks a lot.
Just to go back to what Waddell Wilson was saying, Benny Parsons has had a worry all week. He's driving the Pontiac Le Mans, the same car that Bobby Allison drove last year in this 500. And you remember there was a lot of contention over that car and the height of the spoiler on the trunk lid. Those spoilers are vital for good stability, and they've been given a spoiler that's an inch shorter than everybody else's. NASCAR say this is fair because the car's more aerodynamic, and they're giving them that slight disadvantage. On its own, it runs very, very fast, as he proved in qualifying. But in traffic, he's been a little bit spooked with it all week, and now it's coming home to roost today. The car is loose. They've got to try and get that back end to fight a little bit more by adjusting the spring weight.
12 cars are running in the lead lap. Bobby Allison currently out in front. Joe Ruttman's car number 2, hanging right in there. Latest rundown, he is pulled up through. They had him for a moment. There's a lap down. They followed the 13th. They are now showing Joe Ruttman in the 2nd position with Labonte running in 3rd. Terry Labonte holds on to 3rd. Then Kyle Petty is a lap or 2 down. The number 42, which is running just behind these 3 automobiles. Ruttman is really a dark horse. Big, lanky guy, about 6'4", all the Ruttmans. Jim, who was here as a mechanic for his brother. Troy, who, as we mentioned earlier, won Indianapolis in the early 50s, were all giants. And there's Parsons in number 28, back in 9th position now, out of the lead draft. Right behind him is Morgan Shepherd.
Morgan Shepherd, who ran for Rookie of the Year last year and just got beaten out by Ron Bouchard. A very, very close run right down to the end. They both won races and they both won pole positions. Pretty unusual for 2 rookies to do so well.
58 laps complete, this time by 145 miles complete here in the Daytona 500 is Bobby Allison seeking his 2nd win in the 500. Stays right up in front, and the dark horse, Joe Ruttman, stays right there in 2nd spot with Labonte in 3rd. 4th position overall is Neil Bonnet. 5th position belongs to Cale Yarborough, while 6th is Darrell Waltrip, and here's Ned Jarrett.
Ricky Rudd has pulled his car number 3 into the garage area, but he's staying in it. They're working on it. Ricky, what's wrong?
Something in the valve train broke, but just to make sure, I think they're going to change distributor just to make sure so we can go out and finish for the points.
Well, he's hoping that he can get back in there, but he really doesn't seem too enthusiastic about it. Now let's go out to pit road where Larry Newber is in A.J. Foyt's pit.
Well, Ned, I'm standing in front of Jack Starnes, who right now is talking to A.J. on the radio. They've been talking about the last 2 or 3 laps about a variety of subjects. Number 1, the engine is running fine. Number 2, A.J. feels pretty good also. Their problem right now is looseness with the car. The car is not sticking to the racetrack nearly as well as A.J. would like it to be, and they're trying to figure out whether or not they should risk pitting on the green or perhaps hold out and wait for a caution. They'd like to come in as soon as possible.
As the lead group swept by him, there he is, the orange car, number 51, right at the back of this lead group. As Allison and Joe Ruttman, Terry Labonte, Neil Bonnet, and Cale Yarborough continue to lead this Daytona 500. And A.J. Foyt's dropping back quite considerably. Obviously, a lot of these cars are feeling loose today. Loose means that the back end wants to get away from you, and it can be adjusted only at pit stops.
Let's go to Ned Jarrett with Donnie Allison.
Donnie had to coast into the garage area. What went wrong?
Well, Ned, my oil pressure's been fluctuating real bad for about 15 laps. And, you know, as long as it wasn't going too low, I wasn't going to I wasn't going to come in, and it started going down far enough for the light to come on, so I figured I better come on in before I exploded the motor and they took myself out of the race with somebody else, too.
How were you feeling out there?
Well, I was feeling really good. My car got a little loose there one time, but, excuse me, when I could get a hold of somebody, I could run real good, and I couldn't run nothing like Bobby in that front bunch did, but we were doing all right, and I felt like if we got this race under our belt, we'd get better.
No problems as far as any of the injuries you received last year in the World 600? When that green flag dropped today, really, how was it? Did that come back through your mind?
No, not at all. I haven't thought about it. Unless you guys mention it, I don't think about the accident. You know, I got my work to do, and that's what I concentrate on.
Did you have any apprehension about coming back?
None at all.
Did you talk to A.J. Foyt about it? You know, he had a similar situation.
I kidded A.J. a little bit. I said, at least you and I got another chance. And, you know, A.J. and I are good friends. I run an Indy with him 2 years in a row, and he and I are good friends, and I'm just glad both of us are able to come back and do this.
Well, Donnie has worked with us on some of our CBS telecasts in the past, and, of course, we're sorry to see you out of here today.
Thank you very much.
61 laps complete. Bobby Allison still in front. Let's go to Ron Hicks.
Ken, as you well know, the aerodynamics at Daytona are sort of a black art, and all the crew chiefs out here have varying opinions on which is the best shape, whether it's a Ford or a Buick or a Pontiac. But today, we've got one Chrysler car running out there, Buddy Arrington in car number 67. And believe it or not, there are a lot of guys in the garage area that will tell you that is the best shaped racing car on the track. As it turns out, Buddy doesn't have as much power as some of the competitors. And of course, we know about Chrysler's financial problems, and we can only speculate that when and if some horsepower comes to that Chrysler, we may see some other fellas in it. I wonder about that number 43, for example.
Right now, that number 43, Richard Petty, is running 15th overall on the 60-lap rundown. They are now working the 62nd lap on the 60-lap rundown at 150 miles. This man, Bobby Allison, stays out in front with Rutland in the second position, Labonte in third, fourth is Bonnet, fifth is Waltrip, sixth is Cale Yarborough. And there's the pictures from the second place car as Joe Rutland gets right in the draft of car number 88 and sticks with him through the 18-degree tri-oval as they come by to complete the 63rd lap of competition in the Daytona 500.
Well, if he can just stick in there with Bobby Allison, he's going to be in pretty good shape this afternoon, because Bobby Allison's done so well all the week. He really has, and these two guys are really putting to the rest of the field at the moment.
We'll be back with more of the Daytona 500 in just a moment. Along with Joe Rutland in second place. Just a Valentine's Day romp in the Daytona 500. You're traveling nearly 200 miles an hour as you see that picture in the upper right of your frame. And right in front of him is the leader, Bobby Allison, number 88. The struggle is for first place between these two, and it's been that way for the past 20 laps. Meanwhile, attrition has continued to build. There you see the standings through 66 laps, with Labonte now in third, Bonnet in fourth, Waltrip in fifth, Cale Yarborough in sixth, and there's the attrition. 12 cars have now retired from the event. 12 cars have fallen by the wayside. You see Donnie Allison out with engine problems, and just in the past moment, Delbert Coward and Morgan Shepherd have also had to come in. Now let's check on those cars running outside of the front four. That battle for fifth position continuing out there. There it is, cars number 27 and 11. The 27, the white, black, and red car, is the MC Anderson entry with Cale Yarborough, twice a winner here in this event, 1968 and 77, holding on to fourth position with the fifth position, Darrell Waltrip. Here are your leaders trying to draw away. Allison, also a former winner, and Rutland trying to upset everybody's apple cart. Here's 44 Labonte on pit road. Terry Labonte pulls down on a pit road.
Well, it is about time for pit stops, so we're going to see a whole rash, I guess, of pit stops on the green here. But it is interesting that our camera car, Joe Rutland, car number 2, is really putting some distance between himself and Neil Bonnet.
Here's Larry Newber.
Terry Labonte is in. The crew was relatively prepared. They were not caught by surprise. It appears as though it was a routine pit stop. They changed right side rubber. That was the primary concern. The car got a new drink of fuel, and Terry breaks it away.
There we see out the back of Joe Rutland's car, that car right in the background there. That's Neil Bonnet, number 21, who's running in third position at the moment.
And here's Here's Bonnet coming onto pit road. Number 21, Neil Bonnet, running in third. Here's Ned Jarrett.
They go to the right side to change tires over there, and of course fill it up with gasoline. Crew members are looking across the wall to see how the inside tires look, but their plans are only to change the outside tires. One of the fastest pit crews in the business, the Wood brothers from Stewart, Virginia, and they have them away in 14 and 6/10 seconds.
The leader, Bobby Allison, being shadowed by car number 2, Joe Ruttman. Bobby Allison, winner of this race back in 1978, took the lead way up near the end with 4 laps to go. There's Joe Ruttman. Look at those hands dancing on that steering wheel.
Well, I tell you get a pretty rough ride around here. This banking looks smooth on this nice TV shot, but I tell you, when you get out there, it's pretty bumpy.
500 miles. 500 miles wrestling with a chainsaw out here. Ruttman at number 2 in that second spot.
Looks like his oil pressure's surging, if that's the oil pressure gauge on the far right of the dashboard. When he went into the banking then, the gauge gave a tremendous lurch.
With the CBS camera in the car, question is it going to bother Joe Ruttman having so many people along for a Sunday afternoon ride?
I would say if I'm doing good, it wouldn't bother me a bit. But if I make a mistake, obviously, a few people's going to see. You know, I think it's going to be interesting for people to realize that, you know, there's a little more involved in driving the car, and you're a little busier than a lot of people might anticipate. But, you know, hopefully we'll give them a good ride through the whole race and do some passing and do some drafting and maybe give them a little bit of excitement along the way.
Well,
he's certainly doing that.
He couldn't be doing better than he's doing at the moment, because he and Bobby Allison are having a race on their own at the moment. And I know what he means about embarrassment, because last October I had the same camera in a car in a race in Australia, and luckily for me, my co-driver got it stuck in the sand. And there you had the inside view as they dug him out.
37-year-old Joe Ruttman stays in second. Petty dropping off to the inside and coming on pit road. One of those 2 cars. Here's Ned Jarrett.
This is Carl Petty Richard Petty coming down pit road for his regular stop. He drives the car number 43. They change the right side tires like everybody else and fill it up with gasoline, clean the windshield, clean the screen on the grill, give him a drink of water, and he's ready to go as soon as the crew gets ready. Good pit. And they're making a chassis adjustment on that car, too. One of the crew members reached inside and made a turn on the right rear. Hey, they're changing all 4 tires. A long pit stop, but a different kind of a strategy here for the Petty team. The others that came in earlier only changed outside tires. They are taking much longer, of course, to change all 4 tires than did the other teams. He's over 30 seconds now and finally gets away, but that's going to put him way behind.
Here is Joe Ruttman coming onto pit road. Petty had been running in 13th position and in the lead lap when he made that pit stop. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
They're going to the right side on this one, Ken, and none of the crew members are even looking at the left side tire, so apparently they're only planning to change the right side right now. Now one of the crew members goes in, takes a look at the left rear, says it's okay. A good pit stop, less than 15 seconds for Dale Inman and the crew getting Joe Ruttman.
The Buick of Joey Ruttman going back on the track as Bobby Allison leads and has a little bit of breathing room. The first driver to have any kind of breathing room in the 500 thus far. 73 laps complete. 8 different drivers have shared the lead, and they've swapped that lead 16 times while averaging 158 miles per hour.
And one thing that'll give Bobby Allison a nice bit of room for comfort is he's put Richard Petty, the dreaded Richard Petty, here at Daytona. One lot for Richard Petty.
The 7-time champion of the Daytona 500. His father has won it to make it 8, and Pete Hamilton won this race for them in 1970 for the Petty team. 9 wins. Petty has won 7 of 21 performances here, an incredible number. That's Richard.
And of course, if you take into account his Firecracker 400, he's won 9 times here, I believe.
The number 88 of Bobby Allison. He's been here since 1961. 65 career wins for this man in Grand National competition. As he passes the stands, he's earned over $3,218,000 in Grand National racing alone, and he keeps mighty busy on the short tracks. Here he is in the Nygaard racing team, and you see he has a little bit of breathing room over Cale Yarborough in second place. Now Darrell Waltrip in third, Buddy Baker in fourth. And in the 5th position, riding 5th, it's Harry Gant.
It seems a bit odd that old Bobby Allison seems to be able to go so far on a tank of gas compared to everybody else. Not that I'm intimating anything ungentlemanly, but he has gone rather a long time.
75 laps, 187 miles, and there's the picture once again. There's Ron Bouchard and Ruttman squaring off here. Ron Bouchard, who won that incredible 3-car dive to the line at Talladega, Alabama, in the Talladega 500 this past August on CBS. Remember that move? Labonte on the outside, Waltrip in the middle. Well, that yellow car with the Stacy livery was the car of Ron Bouchard from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, that won at the end of 500 miles by 3 feet. Bobby Allison is trying to make it anything but that kind of race today. Ruttman trying to go down the inside. Here's car number 1, Buddy Baker pulling in. Allison still out in front. Checking our position on car number 2, our camera car, as he closes once again. Moves in after these pit stops. Here's Larry Nuber with Buddy Baker.
Well, Buddy Baker is in. Here's the man who won this race just a couple of years ago. Once again, the outside rubber getting all the attention. Of course, every one of these cars needs fuel each time in. A lot of the crews are having trouble getting the fuel cells filled. Now to Ned Jarrett, the other end of pit road.
Here's Ned Jarrett.
Bobby Allison, the leader, is in the pit. The routine pit stop for him. He takes a drink of that Gatorade that sponsors his car. They put right side tires, fill it up with gasoline, clean the windshield as everybody else has done. Petty is the only one of the front runners that took on all 4. Now let's go back to Larry Nuber.
Kelly Yarborough is on his way down pit road. The crew boots the wall. They're headed, of course, by Tim Brewer. The jet man, Barry Dodson, goes to work hiking up the starboard side of the race car. The windshield is being cleaned, and Tim Brewer, the crew chief, goes to work communicating with the driver, Cal Yarborough. Cal, of course, won this race in 1977. A big pinch of fuel, and he's off now. Cal's crew was successful in getting their fuel tank completely filled on the first set of pit stops. They got better mileage than the other top teams, and Tim Brewer told me he felt that was their advantage on the racetrack, man.
This is the second set of pit stops under green. Number 11, Darrell Waltrip, had appropriated first position. He is now making his pit stop. Right in front of him, coming out is number 28, or coming in is Benny Parsons, who's been running right up with the leaders in 10th spot in the latest rundown. And we're getting the time here on the pit stop of Darrell Waltrip. Here's Ned Jarrett.
They're changing right side tires on his car too, Ken. And just a moment ago, while Cale Yarborough was in, Harry Gant came in car number 33, and they changed left side tires on his car, not the right side. A good pit stop for Waltrip. He is away and running.
15 and 2/10 seconds.
He's away long before Benny Parsons, our pole sitter. In fact, Benny Parsons' car is very tardy in getting out of the pits.
Cale Yarborough's number 27 back on the track as they pick up the positions after all of these pit stops. Gary Ballou is in, and I believe Stan Barrett's car is the next retiree. He would mark the 12th retiree from the race, and Mark Martin may be coming out. Bobby Allison is now being shown as the leader in car number 88 after the second set of pit stops in a green condition. The average speed through 70 laps. We're now at lap number 78. At 70 laps, 170 miles, 75 miles, 158.570. 158.570. Allison again has the first spot. And with these pit stops, number 2, Joe Ruttman is finding himself back up into second place. This is unofficial now. In the third position would be the number 47 car. And that's the yellow and white car prepared by Bob Johnson and Dick Beattie, carrying Stacy cars. That's being driven by Ron Bouchard. In the fourth position, Tom Sneva of Spokane, Washington, who's been hanging on to the lead draft. Just staying around out there today. And the Indianapolis veteran is up in the thick of things at the moment.
Well, Tom Sneva certainly is no stranger to speed. He's been one of the fastest qualifiers of all time at Indianapolis and at the old Ontario Motor Speedway, doing laps at over 200 miles an hour. So he's used to the speed, and this is the first year he's had a really good car, and he's hanging on there extremely well.
Number 88, Bobby Allison. Can he win his second Daytona 500 and take that giant piece of the pie? Today is assessed at some $925,000. There's his last lap average speed, 193 miles per hour, and that's by his lonesome, David.
Well, of course, that shows the value of new tires. You see these guys changing tires very often, these pit stops. Well, they're not worn out. They've got quite a bit of tire wear. They could probably do at least 250 miles on a set of tires. but every time you put new tires on, there's just something about them that give you that little bit of extra speed. So for qualifying, for instance, they always run new tires, and there you see it right there. His very first lap out of the pits with new tires, just on the right side only, and he turns in a lap at 193.
They played musical chairs at the end of the season. This car number 88 last year was driven by Ricky Rudd, who's now in car number 3, and the car that set on the pole this year, number 28, now has Benny Parsons at the keyboard. Allison was there a year ago. He's now tied into the Dygaard team, and that car looks strong. Now there's Tom Sneva in that white automobile, number 37, the Alexander car, and that one is running very well today. Sneva stays right with the leaders. He's been working his way along through the field from the start. A year ago, he came to Daytona and failed to qualify for this event. Now from Joe Ruttman's car, Sneva is one of those cars behind him. They come down to the tri-oval.
It's one of those white 2 cars, and in fact, the other one being Neil Bonnet's car, number 21. When we just saw Sneva a few moments ago, he was passing number 47, Ron Bouchard, who's just coming into the pits. It looked like he was slowing down rather early. In fact, he ran out of fuel as well.
Bouchard is on pit road, number 47. Bob Johnson crew working on the right side. Here's Larry Newber.
One of the family affairs entered in today's race is the Mark Martin crew. This is Mom Jackie, who watched Mark 3 times be ASA champion, but there'll be no championship today, will there? I said there'll be no championship today like there was with ASA, right, Jackie?
Not today, but maybe next week.
Were you pleased with the running of the car till the engine went?
He was running a real good, consistent, conservative race. I don't know what position he was in.
Well, about 2 football fields away from me right now with the prodigy of Jackie is Ned Jarrett with Mark Martin.
And he's one of the smallest drivers on the circuit. He only weighs about 125 pounds, 23 years old, but he can flat handle an automobile. But what was your problem?
Well, Ned, it was, as you know, it's my first time here in a Grand National race car. And, we were pleased with the way we were running. We needed a caution to get 4 tires and gas and get caught back up with a lead draft. I was ready to race with the leaders at that time, right as we were, we had engine troubles, what took us out, though.
You're considered as one of the young lions that's coming along in this sport. Do you see yourself that way?
Well, like I say, Ned, we're learning on the super speedways. We're a new team, and we're just going to try to get going at the next one at Richmond.
Well, he will be a driver to be heard from, Ken, before 1982 is over.
Mark Martin, the 13th retiree from this event. He was running in 15th position, that 23-year-old, when he came out. Youngest driver in the race, 21-year-old Kyle Petty. 80-lap rundown is now being assimilated for 200 miles, 200 of the Daytona 500, and it shows 10 cars continuing in the lead lap with Bobby Allison out in front. Joe Ruttman is being shown as second. Neil Bonnet is third. Terry Labonte fourth. Darrell Waltrip holding down that 5th position as they continue to swap. Kelly Yarborough is being shown in 6th, in trouble down in turn number 2. It's car number 59 up against the wall and sliding. Ty Scott of Penargo, Pennsylvania. His Buick automobile grinding off the front end and coming to a rest just out of turn 2. Caution out around the speedway for Ty Scott. Scott making a singular performance here. He's not running the entire season. Just came down here in this car number 59 for the race. A Buick automobile, and the 32-year-old Scott, who's done a lot of short track racing in Pennsylvania, fine dirt tracker, gave a great performance here in 1979 when he finished 6th, is now out of it. In the 84th lap, he crashes in turn number 2, and we'll be able to show you what happened. Let's take a look now. Here's David Hobbs.
Well, there's Ty Scott parked up against the wall, but here we see the accident starting. Oh, I don't know what happened there, really. I don't think he was touched by that car underneath him, which was, but he just seemed to lose control, shot across the front of that guy up into the wall, and now you can see him holding it up to the wall, which is the right thing to do in a situation like that, because this is the last place you want to come away from the wall and get T-boned by somebody passing you.
Well, this will gather up the front of the field, those 9 cars in the lead lap, and create another Daytona scramble. And from the car camera, we may be able to get another view of what happened. He's already in the wall as Harry Gant went down the inside, David.
Well, Harry Gant's one of those guys that was lucky that Ty Scott did such a good job of holding the car up on the wall once he'd got it there.
Ty Scott, whose best finish was 4th at Darlington in 1979. Came down off the wall, as you can see there, several feet.
Just left away, but he soon made sure he got back close to it again. That's where an English bloke hit the wall, you know, in about 1976. Just about the same place.
HOBBS, as I recall. Upper Boddington Flash, they called him.
Something like that, yeah.
Surprise you a little?
It did a bit. The noise is so loud.
I would imagine grinding along a concrete wall for 600 or 700 feet might impair your hearing for a bit.
It sure does.
Big moment on pit road. Everybody's coming in. Labonte is there. Neil Bonnet has just pulled in. Ruttman is in. Allison is in. And there's not quite the pressure of the green flag stops we've seen the last 2 times. They're taking a bit more time to crimp and make them as proper as they can to continue toward the halfway mark.
Well, this is the stop, of course, that Benny Parsons wants to do some adjustments on his car. They're doing some adjustments on that car right now out there.
We're watching as they're getting in car number 59. It looks like it may be on fire out here. There's some problems. Let's go to Larry Newberg.
We are in Cal Yarborough's pit, and despite the fact they were in just moments ago, crew chief Tim Brewer decided to use this as an opportunity to top off the tank and to also change rubber on
There's
the car.
problems on the track. Car number 59 is on fire. It is caught on fire, and Ty Scott is still in the automobile. It didn't look like he took such a hard blow, but they're having trouble getting him out of the car, getting some assistance, and there is fire in the automobile.
I don't know what's happened. It looks like he might have hurt one of his legs, but it didn't look that hard a hit, really. But of course, well, you just can't tell. Obviously, he is hurt, and he obviously couldn't get out of the car unaided. And it looked at one stage there as if the car was catching fire, and obviously panic set in somewhat.
Safety crews working with Ty Scott. We had a bad crash earlier this week in qualifying. Bill Dennis of Glen Ellen, Virginia, crashed hard here in the Tri-Oval. He is now listed in fair condition here in the Halifax Hospital. At Daytona and the rest of the speedways in the NASCAR circuit, the key word of the drivers is not speed, but safety. Racers are constantly trying to make the track a safer place, and Ned Jarrett has this report.
Over the years, NASCAR has had a number of innovations which have made it safer for the drivers on the track, and many of these things have gone on also to be incorporated into the cars, which makes it safer on the highways, such as improved safety belt situations, improved suspensions for the cars, and this year is no different. Remember last year this terrifying accident involving John Anderson? Notice his arm flailing out the window. Safety net didn't work. That car had this old-style safety net, which perhaps is not much stronger than a volleyball net, and it simply fastened at the top, and it came loose in that particular car. But now NASCAR has a new, much stronger net. It is actually bolted at the top, so it should keep the driver and his arms inside. But that's not the only hot item on the circuit this year. In the past, the hottest spot in the race car for the driver is where his right foot sits and depresses the accelerator. It's directly over the exhaust pipe, about 3 inches away. The temperature is sometimes 13 to 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. They have burned big blisters on their feet in the past.
It got so hot in my car that I got third-degree burn on the back of my heel back earlier in the summer. It cooked the meat on the back of my foot and even went in and turned the bottom of the bone black. It cooked it so badly.
In an effort to try to reduce the heat in the past, they've used duct tape, they've used plyboard, they've used asbestos and aluminum, or a combination of all. Richard Petty even uses a buildup on the heat of his boots, but that doesn't seem to work too well. Now there's something new on the market. It comes from the NASA space program. It's a plyboard-looking material, but it'll withstand much more heat than we've seen in the past. They would insert this beneath the floorboard on top of the exhaust pipe, so hopefully the driver's feet will be much cooler than ever before.
88 laps are complete as they bring in the Ty Scott automobile. We'll have an update on that story shortly. Still under caution here in the Daytona 500. Under caution, they have now completed 99 laps. 99 are down to the 200 to be run. There you see the standings as Allison still dominates. Bonnet second. Ruttman the surprise in third. Labonte is fourth. Here's the attrition. cars that have fallen out of the race. They now total 14 machines, with Ty Scott, the latest victim of the track. His crash up there in turn number 2 has brought out this third caution period of the day. Let's go to Brock Yates.
Ken, every time we have a crash at a race like this, there are certain people away from the sport that will tell you that all these fans have shown up here to just see such a thing happen. In fact, they'll tell you that they want to see people in race cars hurt or even killed, and that's the only reason they come. Well, I say nonsense. I say, based on my years of experience in this sport, that these people come here to vicariously ride with these drivers, to see them encounter all sorts of adversity and a lot of hazard and a lot of danger, but they want to see them survive. It is the essence of this spectator involvement with this sport to see adventure, confrontation, and survival. When someone is hurt, truly, the crowd is hurt. We've all been at races where people have been injured or even killed, and I don't think there is ever in sport a more awesome pall that is thrown over a large crowd than when a serious accident happens. And I can say that if anybody denies that, they don't know either motor racing or the people who enjoy watching it.
The thoughts of Brock Yates. Now to Ned Jarrett.
They have just brought Ty Scott into the hospital area, Ken. Of course, this is a mandatory situation. When you have an accident of that sort, they bring the driver to the track hospital, check him over if need be. Of course, they'll take him to a nearby hospital where they have more facilities to attend to them. We understand that they did, of course, carry him to the ambulance, but one of his crew members said he thought that he was conscious, but they are taking him into the track hospital here now, and we'll have a report as soon as we can get one on his condition.
We had another retiree just now, number 94, Bobby Wowak of Villa Park, Illinois, has just gone back behind the wall. He may try to come back out, but we have 90 laps officially completed, and we're now showing 14 cars have fallen by the wayside. Bill Gasaway up there in the control tower. There's the map of the course, and there you see those indications around there are all the various safety units of the speedway. There's like 7 or 8 ambulances here, fire trucks all the way around the track, various vantage points. They have observers in each of the corners as well as down the straightaway to watch exactly what happens to these cars. Here's Larry Newber.
The Wood brothers, headed up by Leonard Wood here, have brought a car into victory lane here at Daytona. Is today going to be number 5, Leonard?
Well, I can't tell yet. The track's real slick out there, and the car's kind of slipping around a little bit. And we made a chassis adjustment, hoping that'll help it some. But Allison's really strong, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
What kind of secrets and tricks does your team have up its sleeve? Can you reveal them?
Well, we're just trying to hang on at the moment. Like I said, Allison's real strong, and the track's real slick out there. And we made a chassis adjustment, and hoping that that'll help it.
Would you rather be up there with Bobby Allison or with Darrell Waltrip when we come down near the end?
Well, it just depends on which car's running the best, which one you'd rather try to outrun. It doesn't really matter. We'd like to beat both of them if we could.
Well, the Wood brothers have never taken Neil Bonnet to victory lane here, but Neil hopes that changes today.
As we look at the standings with 91 laps complete, we have a Buick in 1st, 4th, and 5th, and the real surprise is that Fords, David, are running 2nd and 3rd. You think the Fords have out-snookered them here?
Well, I think that they've been laying back a bit. Joe Rutten's been going pretty well all the week, and of course Earnhardt was going extremely strongly in the week and in the race, and it looks like the Fords are going to be in contention at the end of this race. But as Leonard Wood just said, old Bobby Allison looks very, very strong.
There you see the race summary with now 92 laps complete, 10 different leaders, and 19 lead changes among them. The average speed at 154 miles an hour, nowhere near the record. The Wood brothers with the 2nd place car, number 21, Neil Bonnet at the controls. They've won this race on 4 previous occasions. First with Tiny Lund in 1963, Cale in 68, A.J. Foyt in 72, and David Pearson in 1976. A.J. continues to stay out here, keep running. Things have not been going well with the car. They're out of the lead lap at the present time, but the mere fact of his presence in this event speaks to the rugged individual that A.J. Foyt is after that terrible crash that he had at Michigan back on July 25th a year ago.
It's a very long race, of course, for him to make his comeback in. 500 miles around here at Daytona is very, very tiring on man and machine. And if he can pull this one off, he certainly is indeed the Iron Man.
But the big story as well is that Darrell Waltrip Jr. Johnson story. They continue to have that car number 11 right in here. They show up in that lead lap. They're running where Junior likes to run. You don't have to be right up on the point now, but you're right in there with them. And car number 11 in the latest rundown was being shown in 9th position, in 7th position overall. Waltrip was in the 7th spot and maintaining the 8th position directly behind him as they line up bumper to bumper. Harry Gant and Ron Bouchard in 9th. In that 10th spot, Gary Ballou. And Ballou started 31st on today's field. What a rambler and scrambler that guy Ballou is. On dirt, he's incredible. He won in Syracuse, New York a year ago, and they said he never had that car straightened the whole race. He was sideways around the mile all day. Bobby Allison going for win number 2 in the Daytona 500. We're under caution waiting for a further report at this time on Ty Scott. Four laps complete, getting set for a restart with Bobby Allison first, Bonnet second, Ruttman third, Labonte fourth, Buddy Baker is fifth, Yarborough sixth, Waltrip seventh, Harry Gant is in eighth, Bill Elliott ninth, Benny Parsons 10th, and showing 11th right now is number 42. They're saying Kyle Petty. And let's go to Larry Newberg quickly.
Dale Inman, Joe Ruttman's crew chief, are you guys pleased with the performance of your car up to this point?
Well, we've run real good so far in the race. There's still about quite a few laps to go, and look like Bobby's the quickest car, and everybody's trying to hang on to him. We've been real fortunate so far to stay real close, and maybe we get a good finish out of it.
Ready to go green, and the top of pit road is Bobby Allison, Ken Squire.
13 cars in the lead lap as they get set to turn them loose another time. Down they come through the 3rd and 4th turn.
You folks hit about 185 on the backstretch, don't you?
Bobby Allison has a couple of lap cars directly in front of him. There's the light blue number 75 of Gary Ballou just in front of Allison. And the car up on the point is the number 47, I believe, of Ron Bouchard. Is that right? Just on the tail end of the lead lap. They are on the tail end of the lead lap. There's the 12th and 13th cars as they get set to go. Now we're back with Joe Ruttman's car number 2. Remember, he's in 3. Slower cars down to the inside, David, and the fast machinery up in the outside lane.
There we see Morgan Shepherd, and there we see the other safety car of Jody Ridley, number 90, as Joe Ruttman sweeps by as they go over the start-finish line here. Joe Ruttman in that high lane because he's number 2 in the race, number 4 on the road, but he's third in the race.
Bobby Allison, that car has run well for 9 straight days. It hasn't missed a lick. And here it is behind 2 cars that he's about to overlap. They're in the lead lap, both Ron Bouchard and Gary Ballou, but Allison sets his sights on putting them 1 lap down.
They're not having it. Ron Bouchard and Gary Ballou don't want to be a lap down in particular.
No, indeed. Struggling to stay with the leaders. Bouchard, Ballou. Allison just watches them out a little. Remember, these are 2 relative youngsters to Grand National Racing. Before he takes his shot, he wants to know exactly where they're going to go.
Yeah, I bet he does. 195 mile an hour. You want to be very sure that you know where and you want to be sure that they know that you're there.
There's Ruttman dropping down on the inside of the Dave Marcus car. Marcus is a lapped automobile running 15th. Remember, Ruttman, number 2, is in 3rd. And there's Allison dropping to the inside. Takes Ballou, Florida runner, and he goes after Ron Bouchard of Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, puts him a lap down, and here comes Neil Bonnet on the inside.
Neil Bonnet being sucked through there by his friend Bobby Allison. Uses the draft from Bobby to pull himself underneath Ballou and Bouchard. Leaving out in the cold, number 2, our cameraman, who is still stuck behind those 2 cars.
This is the perfect setup for Allison. His protege, Neil Bonnet, another member of the Alabama gang, is with him. And you can be sure those 2 have intentions of breaking away from the rest of the field. They possibly can. Ruttman needs to make a move right now if he wants to stay with them.
Ruttman has to get past Ballou and Bouchard, unlap himself, and then put a lap down on those 2 and really get up with Bonnet and Allison, because in this business, these 2 are 2 of the absolute best.
Bobby Allison up in that front position. He's won this race 1 time. Cale Yarborough's won it twice. Richard Petty, a phenomenal 7. Allison trying to change the record with a little here today. Ruttman in the 125-mile qualifiers went from first to 8th position in the length of a short straightaway, one of these short shoots, and he got trapped outside the draft. Here's a 360 shot all the way around the speedway from the blimp as you see them. Going down into turn number 3. Looking like beads on a necklace as they wheel around up on that 31-degree banking.
Doesn't look very steep from there, does it? Look at that number 1, that red car in the middle of the pack there, very, very close to the wall. That was Buddy Baker in the car number 1.
Just some idea, too, of the multitude that is gathered for this festival of speed at Daytona.
Joe Ruttman still stuck behind Ron Bouchard and Gary Ballou, although I suppose stuck wouldn't be a very good word at 195 mile an hour.
Halfway this time by. 100 laps down, 100 laps to go. Richard Petty is running a lap down. The latest report had him at 18th. Had him at 18th for Petty.
But I still wouldn't count him out.
He's going to lap down here on occasion and come back and want it. Halfway indicator. Harold Kinder puts it on him.
Of course, he was waving there with to some of the slower cars. It's the passing flag, and it's an indication to somebody that a faster car is coming up, and you must let him by. That's the theory, anyway.
So there are the standings, 250 miles into it. Still holding on to the draft. Following along, Joe Ruttman trying to work his way through those lap cars. CBS Sports live coverage of the Daytona 500 will continue after this word from your local stations.
This CBS Sports Special is sponsored by the complete line of STP Performance products. The Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. And by Yamaha, motorcycles designed to be as different as the people who ride them.
Averaging 148 miles per hour, 250 miles into this event. Bobby Allison in his quest for his second Daytona 500 victory. Following today's Daytona coverage, stay with CBS Sports for great basketball. 2 of the NBA powerhouses tip off as the world champion Boston Celtics, led by the all-star Larry Bird, take on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's LA Lakers. Join Dick Stockton, Bill Russell at courtside right after the Daytona 500 on CBS Sports. Trouble going into turn number 1. A smoker blown in.
Oh, and a spin. I think that's Neil Bonnet up in the wall.
And Ron Bouchard has landed on the bottom of the racetrack. On the top, it looks like Benny Parsons as well as Neil Bonnet. Richard Petty's 43 all torn up. The 7-time winner, Richard Petty, with a front end badly blunted. And 96 is in there as well, Elliott Forbes Robinson. A major crash in turn number 1 is bringing out the 4th caution period of the day. There is Neil Bonnet, number 21, trying to win this race for the Wood brothers once again, trying to make it their 5th win. Leaders coming back to the line. Petty is out, Bonnet is out, and I believe that Benny Parsons' car has sustained damage as well. And I think from inside of one of our cars that have those in-car cameras, we're going to be able to witness exactly what happened here. This is Harry Gantz, number 33. I'm sorry, that is Joe Ruttman's number 2
the
automobile.
action's already started up there. And you can see the sort of visibility. Stuff coming up to the windshield there, bits of debris. This gives you just some idea of just how close. He passes Neil Bonnet scraping along the wall.
Ruttman absolutely blessed Bonnet scraping along the wall, cars diving to the inside. Petty is out of his automobile. And aren't we thankful he's okay? Holding his nose a bit. Neil Bonnet is down there with him. And we have this from another perspective. Now, there's the car losing an engine.
It's the car losing an engine that caused the whole thing, isn't it?
And then they get in the oil, and away they go.
It was car number 94, and he's been going around very, very slowly for the last 3 laps. And I'm pretty amazed. I was about to comment. I couldn't understand why they didn't black flag him. I've no doubt they'll be wishing they had now.
Head figures, I'm up here all day. You're here for 5 minutes.
106 laps are complete. The leaders are all back on pit road. You saw Richard Petty walk away from his automobile. He seemed to be all right. Son Kyle, we have another. Let's look again as we watch them try to get Neil Bonnet out of his car. Let's see if Neil Bonnet is okay here for a moment. Trying to extricate Neil Bonnet.
I think he's okay, yeah. He seems to be all right, doesn't he?
And from the in-car pictures taken by Joe Rutland, look again at what he faced. He had to be trembling a little right here.
While he's coming down the straight, he sees that engine blow right up the front of this high-speed draft. He comes up close to the wall, into the smoke screen, and then out of the smoke screen comes that debris as it bounces off the windscreen. 2 cars in front of him, one starts to spin, or the car, there's 2 cars in front. The car right in front of him manages to hang on, missed Neil Bonnet, who's up by the wall. There's another one spinning down at the bottom there. In fact, that's the car with the blown engine. There's the flames coming off Neil Bonnet's car as it scrapes along that outside wall. It's just a flash flame. There's Kyle Petty, that's tucked in behind our camera car of Joe Rutman. And they're all very, very lucky, but it just shows the inadvisability of letting these old crocs continue to run.
Bonnet being picked up and put in the ambulance. Let's go to Larry Newber.
Well, in the Richard Petty pit, Wade Thornburg is the main man. And Wade, any radio communications with Richard about the accident?
Well, the only thing he said he was okay and the car was totaled out. Said that number 5 hit him in the rear and then he hit the head on into the wall down there, so.
Did Richard see any evidence of a blown engine or anything else going on around him?
He didn't say nothing about it.
He apparently had no warning then, did he?
Must not have. He said it was in good shape like number 5 hit him. That was it.
Well, there'll be no 8th victory today in victory lane for Petty Engineering, and right now Ned Jarrett has an update on the Ty Scott situation.
We've been standing by to get a report here, and a member of Ty's family has told us that he is in good condition, that he is conscious, but he has a concussion. He's in X-ray right now. He says that there are no broken bones, and there were no burns from the fire when the car caught fire while it was still sitting out there after the accident. So it is a good report. The doctors, of course, are going to be busy here this afternoon, it looks like, and we will await Neil Bonnet coming in for his checkup.
The field is running its 108th lap in the 106. A serious crash has demolished 4 of the serious contenders in the 1982 Daytona 500. We are under caution, and there's one of the stories of this Daytona 500. A.J. Foyt in number 51 is back. He is now running in 15th position on the field after a serious crash in turn number 1. Foyt out here after he himself survived one of the worst crashes of his career a year ago. The Daytona 500 is a special race, but for some drivers it's more special. And A.J. is driving competitively for the first time since that crash at Michigan 7 months ago. A.J. Foyt, in the world of auto racing, he's one of a kind. The only man to ever win the 24 Hours of Le Mans 67, the Daytona 500 1972, and the Indianapolis 500 4 times. That distinguished career nearly came to an end last summer when A.J. hit the wall in the Michigan 500. The crash was sheer terror. He had cracked his helmet. They talked of amputating his right arm. They said 46-year-old A.J. Foyt had seen his last race.
For me, it was pretty bad. I was just glad I didn't lose my arm was the biggest thing. I lost some muscles that was actually torn out on the racetrack, I guess, and it's got a screw all the way through the elbow now. It's given me quite a bit of pain. Yes, it does have a lot of soreness at night after I work out with it and things like that. The elbow gets real sore.
As the Ironman proved, he faced the trying question of whether or not he should return to the track.
I says, do I want to come back, or do I just want to own cars? And to be truthful with you, I really don't feel I have nothing to prove, but I still enjoy it. My doctors, they've all jumped on me and says, you know, AJ, you can't be hurt many more times. Keep surviving. I says, well, we all got to go some way.
So he left A.J. Foyt's car lot to the salesman, and A.J. Foyt's horse ranch to the stable boys, and A.J. returned to the garage and his four-wheel toys, which have brought him happiness and enjoyment over the years.
I just feel like I just want to go back racing and run quite a few of them and get back in shape and get to feeling good again. You know, laying around and trying to heal up just makes you old, tired, and fat. So I figured get back into racing and get back in the swing of things.
Back on the track, A.J. geared up for the competition, and his priorities changed. He not only wanted to prove he could come back, but come back and win.
Racing is still my first love. And when a driver's out there, it's a team effort, but yet the driver has to call his own shot. He can't call in on the radio and she'll try to get under this guy, this lap, or what have you. And I think that's one thing I like about driving a race car. You got to call your own shot, and if you're man enough to do it, you're man enough to be a winner.
A.J. Foyt running right up there with the leaders today. They said he wouldn't be back again. Any fan that's ever seen A.J. Foyt run at Winchester, Indiana, or Indianapolis, or any place he'd ever been could have told those doctors the same thing A.J. told them.
Yeah, well, A.J.'s pretty tough, and you've got to be pretty tough in this business. And one of the other people that's got to be tough, I sometimes tend to think of the officials. They sometimes come down with a very heavy hand. Then another time, they don't come down with a heavy hand. And this whole accident, 4 cars here written off because of softness.
Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Well, they have brought Neil Bonnet and Richard Petty into the hospital area. Richard is still standing out. You can see him in that crowd now. He goes into the hospital. He was talking with some people, but he was limping as he went in. Bonnet was on the stretcher as they took him into the hospital. We'll get a report as quickly as we can and get back on their condition.
I believe that man standing there in the white shirt is the father of Ty Scott, who's down here with him today. They've had a lot of cars that have run on the dirt in Pennsylvania. And there are 3 cars, and there's one fan that is not concerned about what's happening here on this Valentine's Day. Much busier with whatever it is Mom gave him or her. Still under caution. A late word from Ned Jarrett.
Robinson was involved in that accident also over there, Ken. He came to the hospital and then walked right out. Apparently you're okay.
Yes, I'm fine. I just hit the wall trying to avoid some of the debris on the racetrack.
Well, what caused it? What started?
Well, I don't know. I talked to Richard Petty on the way back because he was up front. He said it looked like somebody blew a motor in front of him. Everybody slowed down. When he got on the brakes, he was hit from behind, and that put him around backwards, and he hit the wall. And it seems he hurt his foot a little bit badly. It's swelling up some.
Well, Lee Petty, Richard's father, had just come out of the hospital. Lee, what did you learn?
Well, I went in there. It looks like somebody spun down there, and somebody hit him right in the back, and he drove him right in the fence. And I just got through talking to him, and he hurt his foot, but I believe he'll be able to plow tomorrow.
You think he'll be able to plow? They're going to put him right back on the farm. Now, boy, I'll tell you, if that isn't humor or I don't know how you do it. You fellas.
I think he'll be able to plow tomorrow.
Okay, well, we're certainly happy that you can smile about it and that Richard Petty is okay. We'll get a report on Neil Bonnet as quickly as we can.
Thank you very much, Ned. 112 laps are now complete. The 110-lap rundown had the speed at 144.126 miles per hour. Bobby Allison still secure in first place. Terry Labonte is in second. Joe Ruttman hangs right in there in third spot with Darrell Waltrip now moving the Wizard Mobile up into fourth spot, and Jimmy Sauter in fifth. And we're going to take a careful look at Jimmy Sauter's car as it comes by here, David, and see if we can spot any damage to the front end. Richard Petty was saying he thought he took a shot from car number 5 as they were getting on the binders going into turn number 1. I would think that if he had taken a shot like that, that it would definitely show on that car. Now let's take a look at the attrition as we look at the race summary. The attrition now builds to 18, and sadly, it includes Benny Parsons, the man who sat on the pole and wanted so much to win this race once again. Elliott Forbes Robinson and Richard Petty, the grand champion, 195 career wins, 7 times a winner here at Daytona. Neil Bonnet now out. 1 lap, and they're going to be back under green once again as the battle continues out here on the speedway. And with everybody ready to thump bumpers and rub fenders, we get down toward the finish of this one. We're 113 laps in. of this 200-lap event. We have 8 cars running the lead lap as we get ready to resume. Again, it's Allison in front, Labonte in second, Ruttman with our cameras running third. In the 4th spot, Waltrip, the national champion from a year ago. Then in 5th is Jim Sauter, and let's go to Larry Newbert.
When the 1980 winner, Buddy Baker, came in the last time, the hood went up. Housewell Ellington, the crew chief, why?
Well, what happened, you know, that they've been trying to get that guy in for, you know, out there smoking for so long. He blew an engine right in front of the whole pack. He wasn't running but 80 miles an hour. And so we got into it and blew 2 tires. And then when he come off the bank one day, he stretched the tie rod in, so we had to set the toe in again. And beat out all them fenders and all, we got the wreck.
Buddy apparently noticed that the other car was running slower. You guys felt it should have been flagged in earlier.
Oh, yes, that's no difference about that. Now, they black flagged him 3 or 4 laps before that, so he didn't pay any attention, kept out there, didn't blow the engine. Probably wasn't running 80 miles an hour. What they should do is never let him back out in the garage area when he goes in. He's been in there twice.
Well, the driver we're talking about is Bobby Wawak, and Ned Jarrett is on pit row with Bobby right now. Ned?
Bobby, you had a problem out there, but you didn't feel that the oil came from your car.
No, it lost the piston and blew some oil under the headers and made some smoke. But I was way down. I saw the leaders coming and was down on the flat part of the racetrack. And there wasn't any oil from my race car that caused anything but slippery.
Well, he should know because he brought it on into the garage area and there was not much of a problem. Neil Bonnet is okay. He is conscious and talking to the people in there. Hopefully he'll be out of the hospital before too long.
Restart moves to the line to start the 114th lap. Buddy Baker is now a lap down in 12th position, incidentally. Green flag is out. On the outside, Joe Ruttman goes all the way up to the wall as he tries to squeeze through. Ruttman is right up there, wheeling around some lap cars as they muscle each other going into the first turn. Now there's Ruttman, battling his way as he tried to make that maneuver to get around those lap cars, and he's pulled around them. Joe Ruttman in 3rd position and closing down the back straightaway. Great move on the start by Ruttman with our CBS camera on board, giving you live pictures right up there among the leaders.
Well, there he is. Of course, he's following Labonte is running second. Who's just right in front of Labonte is Bobby Allison. And, of course, the Stacy team at this stage is doing extremely well. Right behind Ruttman is Gary Ballou, car number 75, but he's a lap down. And behind him is our other camera car. No, it isn't our other camera car. It's Darrell Walton, number 11.
Waltrip running at 5th position, 2 back from our camera car in 3rd spot. And there is Harry Gant. That is the Wizardmobile, not Waltrip's car. Built by Chuck Gay, and you're looking out of the back of car number 33, running in 7th position. Running right in the 7th spot. Talk about close competition. It's everywhere around this speedway.
Look at that hood fluttering on the car behind him. It just shows you the air that's falling, that's blowing that hood around at those tremendous speeds. These cars doing about 195 down there. Sitting in there looking pretty relaxed at the moment.
There's Harry. I think he's moving right in on A.J. Foyt now.
A.J. Foyt's car number 51. See those little puffs of smoke coming off A.J. Foyt's right rear tire as he goes over those bumps in the banks and turns 3 and 4 right up to the wall as they come into this tri-oval area.
Dave Marcus, who has been running up in 9th, is in to make an unscheduled stop and come back on the track. That's going to cost him dearly. Back up in front, there are your leaders. It's Bobby Allison, still in first. The Nygaard Racing Team, the Gardner Brothers car, right up there holding on with Labonte making a great run in the Billy Hagan car in 2nd place. And then in 3rd lies Ruttman. Field down the back straightaway and in from inside the CBS mobile unit, where Bob Fishman and Bob Stender are doing such a remarkable job of bringing you this, one of the most difficult sports events to cover, and the technical crew we have here has been superb. It's 9 hard, rugged days to get this 500 together and bring it to you, and nobody has missed a beat since it began. Coverage today, I happen to think, is among the best we've ever been able to give you, and certainly
one of the most remarkable
history.
One of the most remarkable things when you go into that truck and the director has to change from camera to camera, and he's got a black and white picture. He doesn't see any of these colours. All you see is the only way you can recognize the cars half the time.
Back straightaway. Allison in front. Labonte in 2nd. Running 3rd, Joe Ruttman. 117 laps down, and here comes Waltrip. All right, Darrell Waltrip is beginning to show some muscle in the Junior Johnson car number 11. He's on the inside, and he's beginning to haul the mail. Here he is, working underneath Joe Ruttman as they come back to the tri-oval. Almost touching as they come through there.
He's not giving Joe Ruttman any working room, and he's bringing along with him Gary Ballou in that blue number 75. Right behind him, that looks like Cale Yarborough in car number 27. It is. He's running 5th spot at the moment.
The great intimidator, Darrell Waltrip, who has been car in trouble, sliding in front of the field. Two cars getting tangled.
That's Gary Ballou, and that's Cale Yarborough, car number 27. I don't think either of them hit each other very, very hard, though. They could both just get away with that. There's Ballou driving off.
They don't know how lucky they are. I'm sure they do. I know that Cale Yarborough does. But Ballou, that was right where Johnny Anderson. Apparently, looks like he just got caught in the draft and it went away on him. And Johnny Anderson flipped about 8 times.
That is the exact same spot where Cale Yarborough spun, if you remember, the year of his dramatic finish with Donnie Allison. They spun there early in the race.
Tire down, flat tire on Ballou's car. And Cale Yarborough is back underway.
He looks like he's got a couple of flat tires. Look at his car all down there.
Not sure if the tire went down first or after on Ballou's car. Now let's look at this replay. There's car back.
It looks like it just got away from him. Cale's coming down and down and down, but then so is Ballou. Cale decides to go high at this stage, but just clips the back of Gary Ballou's car there. If he'd tried to go high in the first place, it would have been better for him, but of course that's pretty good 20/20 hindsight at this stage and sitting up in this booth.
Kyle Petty running 13th, just squeaking by, as you saw, and there's Buddy Baker getting by. And we have it from another angle. We have another vantage point for you to observe what happened here. To number 27, who was running 6 at the time, Cale Yarborough, right into the side of car number 75, Ballou. Maybe Ballou cut a tire down.
Could have
a lot
been,
of smoke off that right rear side as he went in there. I can't believe he would just flat lose it. Ballou is a super tough driver. He is a protege of Pete Hamilton, who won this race back in 1970, and Pete, as his mentors, had a great deal to do with the car and the way it works.
Now we've got another massive onrush on the pit lane, and we've got a traffic jam down there with Harry Gant. Number 30, 47.
There's Terry Labonte, who's still running right up on the top of the race. And I'll tell you something, David, that Jim Sauter, who you mentioned earlier, number 5, he continues to stay up in here. He's in 5th place overall. And the guy that couldn't get a ride, Dave Marcus, kept telling car owners, this guy can get it done, and nobody would believe him. Well, here he is. Jim Stacy gave him a shot, and so far, he's been pure magic out here.
Well, he hasn't got a regular ride for the year. He's one of those guys that a lot hinges on today, and he's going to want to do as well as he possibly can.
Now, there's Cale Yarborough, 2-time winner of the Daytona 500. Winner of one of the 125-mile qualifying races the other day, checking out the front on his automobile. It's good to hear that Richard Petty is all right. Perhaps a little racetrack arthritis tomorrow after meeting the wall at 190 mile plus per hour, but he's going to be okay. And there's smoke out of Cale's car. Reminder of upcoming NASCAR Grand National races on CBS Sunday, June 20th. One of my favorite tracks, 2-mile bank. You can pass anywhere on it. Roger Penske's beautiful facility up there in Cambridge Junction, Michigan. The Michigan 400 right outside of Detroit. That has always been a great race. Last year, the winner came from 1st to 8th on the last lap to win it. And then, of course, Talladega. What can we tell you? You've been there the last 2 or 3 years. 13 different races, 13 different winners, and last year the winner took it by 3 feet. And this man, number 33, Harry Gant, figures to be a winner sooner or later. Last year, 7 second places, time after time, so close, but never coming through with that number 1 position that he so much wants. He's never won a Grand National race. He has over 2,500 races to his credit in sportsman and modified races, and you're with him right now, the bandit, handsome Harry Gant in the Burt Reynolds Hal Needham car number 33 Buick coming on the track. Here is Cale Yarborough, who, as you saw, was having trouble coming back on the pit road, sawing on that steering wheel a bit.
I think his left rear tire's flat.
Here's Larry Newberg.
We are in Cale's pit the last 2 times by the crew. About half anticipated him coming in, but Cale was in communications with crew chief Tim Brewer, not only on the telephone, but they were also communicating via hand signals each time Cale came through the tri-oval. Now they anticipate changing all 4 tires eventually on this caution flag. They just made the decision to change all four on this stop. There was some thought that they might stop twice, depending upon how long the caution flag was and how efficient they were when they got the right side change. Ned Jarrett with the story at the other end of pit road.
Well, we're happy to see Neil Bonnet walking around out in the garage area. Neil, are you okay?
Yeah, just a little bit sore. Richard was in the hospital while I was in there. He's hurt the top of his foot. He might have broke the top of it. I don't know, but it's sore. But
well, Neil, here's the accident. As you went into turn one, can you tell us what happened? Did you pick yourself out?
As we went in there, we saw a car blowing, and there was parts and pieces flying everywhere. And Bobby held his hand up, and I held mine up, and we slowed down, and somebody hit me in the rear. And as it did, I turned in the outside wall, and it pulled my right front wheel off, and I didn't have any brakes, plus I couldn't get the car off the wall. It just had the wheel turned all the way back. And, you know, after that behind there, I couldn't tell. But the thing that started it was a car blowing, and there was parts and pieces hitting the cars, the windshields also. We lifted, and somebody just, you know, come in there. It was unavoidable, Ned. It's just the type deal, racing that close, something's going to happen.
And it looked like the car was really working for you.
Well, it's one of the few days I've had enough sense to sit there and ride and not extend the car. I had a whole lot of race car left, but we saw all week long that I had to live off the draft, and I was going to sit there all day long and wait till the very end to see if we could win the race. And there's a lot of good race car torp up there now.
Neil, Richard Petty you mentioned was in the hospital over there too. Of course, you talked with him. Were there any other of the drivers over there?
No, Richard and I were the only ones in the hospital, and before I left, I went by and talked with Richard for a few minutes, and he said he's okay. He's probably going to go get some x-rays made of his foot, but he's feeling okay, you know, right now.
Well, that's the story from the garage area at the moment, Ken.
122 laps now complete. New report on Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough's car. They say there's a tire rubbing on that one. More shortly. Ready for a restart. In second place, you're riding with Joey Ruttman. In front of him is Jim Sauter from Wisconsin. Ruttman from California go at it for first place as the green flag falls.
Well, J.D. Stacey put his money where his mouth is now. The top 5 cars, he's got 3 of them, and that car number 71 there is only 1 lap down, and that's Dave Marcus, and the other car just touched there as you see him going through turns 2 and 3.
That's his protege. Marcus in the white car on the inside is running wheel to wheel with the man he brought into Grand National Racing. Now on the outside, moving by the lap car of Dave Marcus. Actually, Marcus just at the tail end of a lap, running back in 9th. It is Jim Sauter, father of 11 children, with that Buick hammering out in front. The Wisconsin driver, right in that area, winning a whole lot of races over the past several years, finally getting his break.
And you see how close they come to that wall as they come off turn 4, ready to come into the tri-oval here.
Jim Sauter right in front of Joe Ruttman. Sauter won the Automobile Racing Club of America's event here in Daytona, 200 miles, back in 1979. Little signal as he went by the pits from Joe Ruttman.
I think that little hand signal from Joe Ruttman was for the car following him to catch right up on him to help him draft.
Here they are, side by side, and now Ruttman is going into the lead. Upland, California's Joe Ruttman goes into first, but here comes car number 11 down on the inside.
Well, that's what the hand signal was, I think, was to Bobby to come right close, and it pushed them both by Sauter's car.
Oh, Waltrip making a move as he came, diving onto the rear bumper, down the inside. Junior Johnson in the Wizardmobile, and look at Ruttman fight that wheel going into turn number 1. Through the tri-oval, all that air, all that instability in the front end of these 3,700-pound, 200-mile-an-hour cars.
Bobby Allison just seems to lead this race at will. He's shown tremendous form all week, and boy, is he showing some form today.
Jim Sauter falling back to 4th position. New maneuver. Terry Labonte coming down the inside. The Corpus Christi, Texas driver, winner of 37 of 46 races a few years ago in Texas. He's making his move. Look at them, side by side, swapping paint as they come out of turn number 4.
And there you see them, absolutely side by side through turn 4. You can see how close those cars are together, and there's Darrell Walton right behind Joe Ruttman.
Now remember, all of this is at nearly 200 miles an hour. They're not kidding out there today. The real McCoy. The great American race as Waltrip and Ruttman and Labonte. Jim Sauter continue to swap it around. And Allison, of course.
There you see Darrell Waltrip going down the inside again to try and take the lead away from Bobby Allison.
Goes around Ruttman, and he goes after number 88, Allison. This could be a nice war. Bobby Allison first, Darrell Waltrip now second. Ruttman drops to third. We're 127 laps into the race. Just 73 to go. Talk about hanging on by your fingertips. Look at those cars as they come through that tri-oval, and that vantage point from inside the car gives you an idea. The front end just seems to skim along the ground. The drivers say sometimes you have no sensation of the front wheels being on the ground when you come to the top of that speed.
In those very close drafts, of course you don't. It does make the front of the car very, very light.
Bobby Allison is back in front, but the Wizard Mobile, built by Chuck Gay, the only car of its kind, rides in second. Bobby Allison in number 88 stays right there with it, and number 33 is I keep calling that car as it was last year. 23 running in fifth spot. The Chuck Gay creation, the only new car in the race. Beg your pardon.
It's a sort of Wizard Mobile because it's built by the old Wizard, Junior Johnson, and he too is one of the wizards of Grand National Racing. And look at these two heroes here now. Bobby Allison, number 88, Darrell Waltrip, number 11, really starting to shoot it out now as we're getting down in the closing stage of this 500-mile race.
Average speed at 141.472. A lot of caution laps thus far. The last one, extensive time, 5 laps. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Richard Petty is walking out of the hospital right now. You can see him getting in a van, Ken. He does have a foot injury. They're going to pull him through to the garage area. You can see a fence between us and him. They're going to pull through here, and we're going to get a chance to talk to him in just a moment.
We're resuming the point battle on that $8 million NASCAR tour right here. 1 year ago, Allison had the national championship tied up midway through the season, led by some 340 points. Now there's Harry Gant's car. And there's the picture from inside Gant's automobile. Running back there, fifth, sixth spot. Back straight away. Allison thought he had the national championship won, but at the end of the year, it was Waltrip in number 11 who put it all together. Back to Ned Jarrett.
Well, Richard Petty. Richard, you got your feet sort of bungled up here a little bit.
Well, what happened, you know, when all the wrecking and stuff was going on, I slowed down, the boy hit me in the back, and when it did, it went down the flat, and when it hit the wall, naturally I had to push the brakes just as hard as I could, and I run head on in the wall, and it just sort of turned my foot back, and we're going to go get an x-ray, but I think it's okay. It's just swelled up a little.
Richard, how did you see the accident happening?
Well, you know, we was back in sort of a second packer, and somebody blew just as they started, you know, right before they got to the corner, and there was so much smoke, I think everybody just started slowing down, and again, I slowed down, and when I did, somebody hit me in the back, and if they had hit me in the back, I'd have been okay, but I think that's what happened most of it.
Well, Richard, 1982, you came here with very high hopes after winning it in 1981. You and Kyle both have been running strong all week, but it didn't really go according to plan.
Just was one of those days. Kyle's had a little bit of trouble. He's run pretty good. I didn't really run that good, but I had enough trouble to keep it from doing good. And, you know, we'll come back next year and try it again, but we ain't give up. We still got a long year here.
And I'll bet if there's any way possible, you're going to be at Richmond, Virginia next Sunday.
I'll be there if I have to drive my left foot.
Well, that's the way they go about it, Ken.
Well, I expect Bobby Warwack will be very relieved to hear that it wasn't his oil that caused the crash. It was just the impenetrable smoke screen he laid down.
Kyle Petty is now in 12th position. There's the picture from Harry Gant's automobile, running up in 5th. George Gravio is on the controls of this camera. You see, he can actually maneuver the camera around. He can move the camera as they pass. It's all by remote control from back here, actually behind the grandstand. You're watching Joe Ruttman go down into the tri-oval area. And there's the pan over to him driving. Just moving. Now he's moving that camera back so you can look out the front.
It's pretty incredible. They can pan it, they can refocus it, and they can zoom it.
Consultation flag is out for Kyle Petty. Kyle Petty coming in. There was some smoke coming out. They were reporting smoke out of car number 42, and they're underneath the hood on Kyle Petty. So for the folks from Level Cross, this is not a good day. A.J. Foyt continues to hammer away out here. He's running 15th. Number 51. 133 laps complete. Bobby Allison has run average speed at 140 miles per hour. Waltrip stays second. And running in third is Joe Ruttman with Terry Labonte maintaining fourth. The fifth spot is Jim Sauter. There's Richard Petty's car, and the front end sure doesn't look like it did about 2.5 hours ago.
Well, he took a pretty good shot at the wall, and of course, as you said, you know, when you see an impenetrable smoke screen like that, there's just no way that a normal human being, and these guys are normal, they don't look it sometimes, you've got to lift off. And of course, in a situation like that where you're drafting within inches and someone lifts off the gas, trouble ensues. And of course, we've lost, through inefficiency really, we've lost 4 of our best runners.
8 cars running the lead lap. The 9th car is Tom Sneva, 1 lap down. Now here come your leaders. Back in the fans' view, we see Allison first, Waltrip second. Then in third, Joe Ruttman, followed right on the rear bumper by Terry Labonte in number 44. Back on the 31-degree banking, stretching those cars out. 5th spot is Jimmy Sauter. 6th spot is Harry Gant. From the blimp, you're watching them now. 7th is Cale Yarborough. Cale did not lose a lap, and there from the Goodyear Blimp America, you watch that front freight train running down to the banking another time. Last lap at 193.133 miles per hour, so they're getting with the program.
Now, Jimmy Sauter's car apparently has been reported to be starting to smoke. We'll have to have a close look as he comes by this time. He's running in a really good position. If it is smoking, it sure isn't smoking very much. Unless it's smoky on the banking, maybe the tire's rubbing.
138 laps complete, just 62 to go. Consider this. Of the 42 starters, 21 are now out of the race, and we still have a freight train up in front. Dave Marcus is the latest retiree. That's 20 down at this point. Nearly half the field has been disposed of thus far. Those 139 laps, 347 miles complete. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
The latest one to have problems here today is Kyle Petty, the other member of the Petty family. Kyle, what went wrong?
Well, I guess it sucked in a intake gasket or something like that. We thought it was a valve cover when it first started smoking, but I guess it just sucked the gasket down in it. And, I mean, you know, it started smoking, and it wasn't no use to keep running because it was going to keep throwing oil on the racetrack, and we was going to keep putting oil in it. It's going to create a dangerous situation out there.
Boy, you had high hopes here, too.
Well, yeah, we'd run good here all week and run good the first of the race and cut a tire and got a lap down, right at a lap down, and still was able to keep pretty much by ourselves. We had to run by ourselves to catch up with them, but ended up a lap down. But even when we were a lap down, we were able to run with them, so it was all right, I guess.
Well, as Larry Newber said earlier, it won't be for the Pettys today, and now Larry Newber is with Junior Johnson on pit road.
Well, Ned, there's only been one man who's ever won this race as both a driver and a crew chief, not the same year, and that's Junior Johnson. He had the car that was virtually unbeatable a year ago. This is not really the car you preferred to have on this racetrack. The one that's racing in the race today, though, is it, Junior?
Well, we built 2 different kind of cars this year to bring here. What I like about a week of getting as much work into it as we'd like, and that's a car that we didn't bring here. I think the car we got here is, you know, a good car that should win this race. Although, you know, we had a lot of expectations for the other car. I can't say anything bad about this car.
Well, Ken, they say this is not their first-line car, but he's still in it for the victory.
A.J. Foyt on pit road. Supertex is back out.
Oh, what's that?
Problems. And the car running 15th on the field. Also understand there's a windshield that's cracked on that car. Continuing to fuel car number 51, and that's costly for A.J. Foyt.
When he came into the pits, he locked up his right rear really badly as he slid down pit road. But unfortunately, he just lost another lap on the lead group. But what is really interesting is at the back of this lead group, running in 7th spot, is Cale Yarborough. Now, can you believe the wile of the man? He spins coming off turn 2, manages to get back to the pits while the caution's on, gets the whole thing sorted out, changes 4 sets of tires, has the bodywork pulled off the tire, and still is in the lead group. Really working the caution flag to the absolute nth degree, causing it and then still staying with the leader.
Allison the leader. Waltrip in 2nd. Joe Ruttman stays in 3rd position, while maintaining 4th is Terry Labonte. Jim Sauter hangs on in 5th. The dream team has to make their move. Just was leading 146 of the 200 laps in a dead heat for first place. Junior Johnson and Darrell Waltrip, the dream team, begin to show their muscle a little and try to fight their way in. It's Waltrip up on the outside. They've held back. Now they're making their bid in the late going. Here's Joe Ruttman with our camera car going to second place, falling back Bobby Allison. This is when you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Here's a report from Larry Newber on A.J. Foyt's car.
Well, one of the men responsible for changing the rubber on A.J.'s car is Cecil Taylor. Cecil, the last time in, you changed no tires. Why?
A.J. just didn't feel like it was necessary. He said the car was working pretty well the way it's running. We just went for the fuel and get back out.
More action at the other end of the pits with Ned Jarrett.
And a happy fellow here, Robert Harrington, who is the team manager for J.D. Stacy operations, and he's the crew chief today on Jim Salter's car. You got him up there running second and third, and Salter is doing a whale of a job out there.
Well, Jim's got it all right now. I mean, you know, we did ours in the shop. It's all up to him right now. He's doing a super job.
When is the next pit stop scheduled?
In about 6 more laps.
Will that be your final one then?
We're hoping so.
You're hoping so. Okay, Ken. It won't be long till we'll see some more strategy unfurled here in these final pit stops.
Meanwhile, the sixth-place automobile, Harry Gantz, number 33, the Bandit, is on pit road. He's making his pit stop right now, and he's away. They went around on rubber, and you're with Harry as the handsome one gets back on the attack.
I mean, they changed all 4 tires then, which on a green stop like that seems to be taking a bit of a risk, and of course he's just gone down a lap to the leaders, as you can see them climbing through turns 1 and 2 there.
Leaders just flashing by as Harry comes back to full speed. Down at the bottom, now assumes his position as he gathers up some RPMs a little further up on the racetrack. Back straightaway. Boy, if they can all get their pit stops together, I'll tell you, we are going to have some kind of finish. There is Darrell Waltrip, now leading. Joe Ruttman hangs in second place. Can't say enough for the technical crew here today. We're getting some incredible pictures, all of them just doing a terrific job. Bob Brown doing the switching and just staying on top of what is a most difficult event. I've always said that it was like a golf event stretched out over a couple of miles, 40 participants. Something can change the entire race at any moment, in any place. The only difference is instead of walking from hole to hole, these guys are trucking along about 194 miles an hour. Here's number 11, Darrell Waltrip. Won an incredible amount of money last year, nearly $700,000 in winnings for Darrell Waltrip. In second spot, Joe Ruttman, a relative unknown, but what a superb job he's driven. You know anything about the Ruttmans, they're tough. A.J. Foyt has just gone to the garage area. A.J. Foyt just skimmed down pit road, made a quick left turn, and put it away. In his comeback, A.J. Foyt, car number 15, falling back into the 18th spot, now retires from the event.
Well, that makes 21 retirees. I can't remember a race where there's been quite so much attrition. This is a tremendous rate of retiring.
Well, there's 2 elements here. I can't remember as high an attrition in the Daytona 500 in several years, but neither can I remember this many cars this late in the going still having to fight out the fray car.
That, you're having a close-up look there at Darrell Waltrip's car, closer than most of us would like to be at that speed, as Joe Ruttman pulls himself up into second spot.
Joe Ruttman trying to give his wife Harpo the biggest Valentine she's ever had. The Daytona 500 hanging on in second place as he goes back to the tri-oval. Nips it down in there.
And then right behind Ruttman, we can see Bobby Allison, that car number 88, having a go at Bobby Allison. A little bit of smoke, a little puff of smoke there off. Is that off Darrell Waltrip's car?
It is off Waltrip's car. Waltrip falling to the inside, and you're watching the leader go away.
And there goes Darrell Waltrip's engine.
And now it's a battle back to the line. Waltrip expires on the back straightaway. Engine detonates. Waltrip out, and they're racing back to the line for position. And this is the perfect break they needed, unless this thing stays under green. It still looks like it's under green. There's no caution thus far. Waltrip has dropped to the inside of the track, coming down to the tri-oval.
Coming down on an errant back marker, running down the middle of the street there.
No caution. No caution. He was on the inside, and they don't believe there's anything on that back straightaway.
And up the third spot there, that white car is Cale Yarborough. There's Darrell Waltrip pulling into the pit area. I know no doubt he'll take it straight behind pit wall.
22nd car to retire. And for the Dream Team, this 500 becomes a nightmare. Allison again in front. And for the first time, you don't see somebody banging right on the rear bumper, or where there used to be a bumper. He lost the bumper in the very first incident of the day.
There's our
camera car right there, number 2.
And there right behind him is Cale Yarborough. I just can't hardly believe how Cale Yarborough stayed in that position with all that fracas of spinning in turn 2 and getting back to the pits. But there he is right behind this man, Joe Ruttman. Right there is old Caleb.
Cale Yarborough back there in 3rd spot.
And in fact, these three seem to have pulled out a reasonable gap now to the 4th car, which is Terry Labondi. Car number 44. Cale Yarborough getting just a little tad close there. I think he
wants to get his picture.
There he goes to do the draft, the slingshot. Doesn't work. Drops back again as they come up to turn 4 here. Turn 3.
That's Jim Sauter in the pits. The Wisconsin campaigner coming back out.
Well, that's lap 153. There's no way, I don't think, that he can do 47 more laps, so James Sauter probably have to stop again.
So it begins to sort out.
So if these guys start making pit stops within the next 4 or 5 laps, they're going to have to make at least one more, but it'll be a real quickie near the end. And there's a great shot of Cale Yarborough right behind Joey Ruttman.
That's Cale in 3rd. Car from whence those pictures coming, running 2nd here in this near $1 million payoff. The first race of the season. They used to start at Riverside, California. Now race number 1 is here at Daytona, and they'll end the season at Riverside, California next November.
Tremendous amount of buffeting. You can see the spoiler on the back of the Stacy car there flapping about. You can also see Cale's hood as it flaps quite violently in that breeze. There's Cale really swinging at that wheel as they come through turn 4.
Cale having to fight that car. Looks like the handle has gone away a bit in car number 27. Tires getting a little down. Look at Cale as he came out of the tri-oval. He has to pick it up. That's what you don't want to do, is turn right as you come off those corners.
He's really hanging on there hard. He's having to work pretty hard. But if anybody can work hard in this sort of racing, it's old Cale Yarborough. He's one of the toughest guys I think I've ever met.
Absolutely.
He's the original no-neck monster.
Now up in front is Bobby Allison. You're right in the middle of things, folks. Right in the middle of the Daytona 500. Up in front of you, Bobby Allison. Right behind you, Cale Yarborough. You're in some of the fastest company there is in the world of motorsport.
And what a great shot it was just a few laps ago. Great for us. Terrible for Darrell Waltrip when we saw the absolute initials going away of that engine as it started to puke out that right-hand exhaust pipe.
If you had to make choices, who would you pick? Allison, a consistent great runner with his car going so well. Here's a man checking the tote sheet today.
He's getting his pin out.
Joe Ruttman, a relative unknown, but his name is Ruttman, and boy, that means he's a racer. Labonte is on pit road. Cale Yarborough, who's twice won this event.
Okay, Terry Labonte is lying in 4th spot at the moment. Pulls onto pit road and changes outside tires. Obviously gasses up, but I'm sure at 156 laps, at least 44, he's almost sure to have to stop again at least once, just a real quickie.
That average speed in the last lap when you went all the way around the racetrack in these cars was 191.5 mile an hour average. That's some kind of Valentine's Day trip over to grandmother's house.
Here I go.
Cale running high there. Turn 2, where he just spun, but he doesn't need to put him off. They're just coming up to lap. Jim Sauter, car number 5, one of the other Stacy cars. There goes Bobby Allison around Jim Sauter, who's been hanging on so well, but he has just made a pit stop. So when they make their stops, he should unlap himself. Joe Ruttman dropping to the bottom of the banking. Perhaps he's coming in.
Indeed, it looks like Ruttman may be coming in. No, he is staying out.
No, he's
making a late stop. I mean, he came all the way down.
Yeah, he couldn't make his mind up why what.
Hard right. Joe Ruttman is coming into the pits. You're with him for what could be his final pit stop. Here's Larry Newber.
Well, Joe Ruttman comes to a stop. This is one of their scheduled pit stops. Here's the guy who has dominated USAC stock car racing for the past 3 seasons. He's won about 1/3 of all the races he's entered on the USAC stock car schedule. They changed the 2 outside tires. They fill that fuel cell up once again, and Joe Ruttman is off and still among the leaders.
You see that a tremendous jerk as the car drops down off the jack. He's very careful not to slip the clutch too much. If you're going to spin anything, you want to spin the wheels, warm up the back tires, and change the outside right and the right tires. And he's back on the same lap as the leaders.
Bobby Allison first. Cale Yarborough, after that long slide, has gathered it back up and brought the NC Anderson car back out another time. I'm wondering if I can ask Ned Jarrett a question here. We're 159 laps into this race, Ned Jarrett. And that means there are 102.5 miles left. Ned, it seems to me they have to stop one more time.
Kenny, we'll cut them awfully close. Most of the times they can't go over 100 miles, particularly at the speeds that they're running out there now. But we've seen in the past that sometimes they stretch a few extra miles an hour out of them. And I'm sure on these last pit stops that they put every ounce of gasoline in them they could possibly get. Let's report on A.J. Foyt here. He, of course, pulled his car into the garage. He had an engine problem with it. A.J. is pretty disgusted. He didn't want to talk to anyone. And now let's go to Larry Newber on pit road.
Well, Bobby Allison is soaring right at you. Here he comes for what he hopes to be at least his second to last stop. And if all things go super well and they pull a rabbit out of the hat, maybe he can milk out this load of fuel to the end of the race. But that's unlikely. They'll try and slosh as much as they possibly can into this car. If we have lengthy caution flags in the last quarter of the race, you never know. This stop might work. 13.6 seconds on Allison, outside rubber and new fuel.
One of the cars that we're overlooking today, and very, very strong, is the Ford from Dawsonville, Georgia, of Bill Elliott. He has two brothers, and they come in here and they flip a coin to see who's going to be crew chief. They don't seem to take it too seriously, but they race very well. And right now, that car is running up in the top positions. Running back in 6th at the present time, Bill Elliott.
Cale Yarborough, who's also put a lap on Jim Sauter, but of course Cale is going to have to come into the pits probably this lap. I don't see how they can do 40 laps. We had Dale Earnhardt running out in the very early stage of this race on about lap 32. Well, they've still got 40 laps to go. If they can do 40 laps, someone better get the measuring jar out, I think.
That's right. 100 miles remain at this moment in the Daytona 500, the 24th edition, which has been as good as it's ever been. Here is Bobby Allison fighting his way up from second spot is Cale Yarborough in number 27, getting ready to pit. Cale is coming onto pit road. Now he could be within the veil. He might make it all the way to the checkered flag.
When you're running at 193, 194 miles an hour, which is still the laps they're turning in this race, you do use rather a lot of fuel.
Watching the pit time on Cale Yarborough, I tell you those last 2 or 3 laps are going to be frantic and frenzied. And oh my kingdom, for maybe a pint, even a half a pint of fuel.
15.3 seconds, and he changed the inside tires, which is, I would have thought, rather unusual.
The leader, Bobby Allison, at 160 laps, 400 miles, the average speed, 147.164, far off the record.
Swept by Cale Yarborough as he pulls out of the pits, just a little bit too far in front for Cale to pick him up as a draft.
Here's Ned.
Darrell Waltrip has already had time to take a shower and get back out into the crowd here, Ken. Darrell, that thing just sort of went without warning.
Yeah, it did. But we wanted to improve over last year, so I think we finished a little higher up than we did last year anyway.
Well, you had to because you ran longer in the race, and you're also in the lead when it happened. Boy, that has to be a disappointment.
Well, I'm real disappointed, Ned. I really had it going, and I really think I had the only car out there right now that could beat Bobby. He doesn't have any trouble. He's home free. His car's really handling and running good, and we adjusted ours, and it really helped, and we were right there with him, but that's his.
Bobby's been running most of the race without a rear bumper. Would that help him or hurt him?
Well, let's say it'll help him today because it looks like something is.
Sure does. Okay, Ken, that's the story from the garage area.
Now 163 laps complete, just 37 to go. The leader is Bobby Allison, the second place man, Joe Ruttman. The Alabama gang has their best right up on the point. No question about Bobby Allison, 65 career wins. Ron Bouchard is pitting right now. Car number 47 is on pit road. He's running back in 10th spot, a lap down. But it's Allison. Allison the story at the moment. Joe Ruttman in second. Cale Yarborough third. Labonte is fourth. Jim Sauter maintaining 5th position. 26 laps to go on the Daytona 500. Let's get this report from Ned Jarrett.
Jim Sauter came down pit road a lap ago, Ken, and just a flying. And Jim Stacy, you said that you were trying to get him to stay out there another lap so that you could go the rest of the distance here. But then he came back in this time, went right on by the pits. He's got a problem.
Yeah, I'd say he's lost the brakes.
Well, he was not able to get stopped in his pits. He needed to stop very badly, Ken. He's low on gas or maybe even out of gas, but he couldn't get it stopped when he came into the pits. What a tough break for a fellow who has been running right up there with the leaders all day.
So we have 6 cars continuing in the lead lap. Out back on the lead lap is Harry Gant, the Bandit. He runs in 5th in that lead lap. Then comes Labonte in 4th. 3rd is that number 27 of Cale Yarborough. In 2nd, the yellow and blue car of Joe Ruttman. And up in front, as we watch, Sauter coming back, circling around very slowly on the apron. And once again, you're looking out at Bill Elliott's car from the number, I think that's the 33 car we're getting these pictures from. Bill Elliott is running 7th overall on the field. And he's gone a lap down. Now there's one getting an interesting view of this battle going on. Bill Elliott holding right in there, just about a foot off the rear bumper. There's the leader, Allison. His interval now a little better than 3 seconds. And there is 2nd place, hotly contested. Cale Yarborough has it for the moment. Terry Labonte has gone to 3rd. Ruttman now dropping to 4th.
These 3 guys need to concentrate on getting a good draft going because Bobby Allison's pulling inexorably away. He's 10 seconds in front now.
175 laps are complete. It's dwindled down to 25 laps remaining, and there's the interval between the 1st place car and this 4-car battle for 2nd spot. He's really expanded on that lead. 10 and 9/10 seconds. Can Bobby Allison stay there? He's been racing here since 1961 at the Daytona Speedway. He won this race in 1978 for Bud Moore. Car number 98 has just run its last lap. Morgan Shepherd showing some smoke, and he was coasting into 1 and 2 and slowing down on the inside of the track. Here's Ned Jarrett.
Well, Jim Sauter is trying to get back into the pits now, Ken. The crew has gone out to try to slow that car down. They'll get him stopped, but boy, this has really cost him a lot of time. But can you imagine? They're going to change tires on the car, and they're going to fill it up with gasoline, and I guess they'll send him back out there. But can you imagine going out there and running at 190 miles an hour without brakes? Robert Harrington now is looking under the hood to see if he can see what the problem is with the brakes. Well, it is legal that he can go under the hood on pit road and look and see what the problem is. He thinks that maybe a brake line is broken, and I think he has found it here on that left side. But making a repair quick enough to get him back out to be in any kind of contention, well, I don't know if they can do that or not, because they continue to change the tires, and now he's going up to the master cylinder, and what he'd like to do is cut the brakes completely off of that left front wheel, where apparently it's shooting out the fluid from the master cylinder. So I'm afraid that he's going to be in the pits here for a while, but they're going to get him back as quickly as they can. They have some brake fluid there now that they're about to pour in it. They've closed that line off. It's amazing at how quickly they can do a lot of things. If you go into a garage, it might take at least a half a day to do this, but now they have that thing almost repaired. And you know, Ken, he's not going to know whether he's got brakes or not till he needs to slow down, and it might be too late then.
That's one way of looking at it, I suppose. Here's Bobby Allison. Bobby Allison's car running incredibly strongly today.
Jim Sauter falters after a great start here today. CBS Sports live coverage of the Daytona 500 will continue after this word from your local station. Bobby Allison still in front. 19 cars are now on the track. 23 have retired. Back in 1966, 17 cars finished out of a field of 50. That was in 66, and in 76, we had 44 cars running out. Start in 17 finish.
There's your 2nd place car, Cale Yarborough.
Bobby Allison in first. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Ken, we're still in Jim Sauter's pits. We talked to Robert Harrington, the crew chief, on it, and he says that he will have rear brakes. They shut off the front brakes completely, that the pad had come off of one of the left front there, and that's what caused them to lose brakes altogether. But they have a system on it so where they can shut off either the front or the rear. So they have shut off the front brakes, so he does have rear. That'll slow him down at least. Won't stop him quite as quick, though.
Report report now is that 18 cars are still on the track. We have completed 181 laps here in the Daytona 500. There are just 19 remaining. Following today's Daytona 500 coverage, stay with CBS Sports. Great basketball. Two of the NBA giants tip off as the Celtics go up against the LA Lakers. It's all here with Dick Stockton and Bill Russell right after the Daytona 500 this afternoon on CBS Sports. Bobby Allison is in first. 5 cars are running the lead lap here as we're down to 185 laps complete, remaining just 15. And there in second place lies Joe Ruttman with number 27. Cale Yarborough in third position. The fourth spot is Terry Labonte, and in fifth is the Bandit, Harry Gant. In sixth, a lap down is Bill Elliott. In seventh is Ron Bouchard. In eighth is a scraped-up number 1 of Buddy Baker. In the ninth position is Jody Ridley. And running in 10th right now is Roy Smith, that driver who came down here from Vancouver, British Columbia, with a car that the town put together so that he could race in this event.
There we have another great shot at Cale Yarborough closely following Joe Ruttman. But even though these guys are up in a multi-car draft, which should be giving them an advantage, Bobby Allison is pulling away at a horrifying rate. He's now got nearly an 18-second lead on that second bunch. And how he can run that strongly on his own, he's obviously been sandbagging all the week. Anyway, Ned Jarrett's down there with Dale Inman.
Ken, one year ago today, this man Dale Inman was in the crew chief on Richard Petty's car. The car was running in second place in the late stages of the race. Here he is today, the crew chief on Joe Ruttman's car, which is running second. Dale, you're in a similar position. The circumstances appear to be a little different.
48 seconds flat, Joe. 48 seconds flat.
He's telling his driver how fast he ran.
They got me this time because we got to stop for gas, and Bobby's got enough lead that he can stop and go. And I don't know what the other 2 cars out there do. Labonte stopped before we did. I'm sure he'll have to stop, and I'm not sure about Cale. But our car's just not running good enough to catch Bobby. We need a caution, but we don't need to cause it. So we'll just have to stop, put a little gas in, and go and get all we can get.
When you said they got you, does that mean that you got to stop and you don't know about them?
I don't know about Bobby, and I don't know about Cale. I know Terry will, but, you know, you still got to get in and out of the pit.
You'll just take on gas?
Gas only.
Okay, they'll make a very quick pit stop like they did with Richard Petty here a year ago, but the difference is they have to do that this time, and he doesn't know if the others will have to or not.
Well, Bobby Allison, I know, would have to run at least 40 laps, and I see that Cale Yarborough had only got 38 laps to go. He was the last man to stop, so in theory he might just be able to make it, but I reckon even 38 laps is really pushing it. If Bobby Allison goes through to the end of this race without stopping, it'll be a miracle.
Certainly we owe a great debt of thanks to Dale Inman, Joe Ruttman, Jim Stacey, and their entire crew for the time they've allowed us in getting that camera set up and giving you those great pictures you've seen. And the same can be said for Hal Needham and Bert, Travis Carter, the crew chief, Harry Gant, the driver on car 33. Their cooperation has been terrific, and certainly to Jeff Healy and this crew that has brought these cameras from Australia. They've certainly given us some of the most exciting moments we've ever witnessed on television in the world of motor racing. Will Allison win it? We'll know shortly. Well, Brent, the moment is here. 120,000 racing enthusiasts at the birthplace of speed sense that it's coming down to an issue on pit road, a matter of seconds getting in and out for Bobby Allison that could make the difference in his second win, or give Joe Ruttman, the dark horse, the relative unknown, an incredible Daytona 500 victory, or perhaps Cale Yarborough, who's running right there with him, or Terry Labonte. For David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire. Down in the pits today, we have Ned Jarrett, Larry Newber, Brock Yates is with us. Delighted to bring you this great racing epic. And in the final moments, that pit stop is taking place on car number 2, Ruttman. Let's go to Larry Newber.
Well, a year ago, a pit stop just about at this time was what won the race for Dale Inman and then his driver Richard Petty. But the stop today, it was just a very, very brief gulp of fuel. Is probably going to be what will keep his driver out of victory lane. Ken?
They still have to be delighted with Ruttman's performance here today. The name Ruttman almost spells race as far as many Americans are concerned. His father built the cars, the sprinters with which Troy Ruttman toured in the old 3A days and broke all the track records at the fairgrounds across America. Then Troy became the youngest man ever to win at Indianapolis, and now his brother has just made his pit stop, and he stays right in the lead hunt. Meanwhile, Allison has to pit shortly. Let's go to Ned Jarrett.
And we're in Cale Yarborough's pits with Tim Brewer, the crew chief on the car. Are you going to have to make a pit stop?
Well, Ned, we changed the tires on the car last trip, and evidently got the stagger messed up. The car got a little bit loose on him, but I believe we can go the rest of the way. I don't know if he can handle the Terry Labonte car, but we're gonna ride it out and see how we do.
But you do have enough fuel?
Yes, we've got enough fuel. We stopped several laps after Bobby, and Bobby's got to run 100 miles to finish, and the question is, can he make it right now?
What do you think?
I'm betting on him not finishing, but I know he's going to try. I know I would.
Buddy Baker is coming in just for a dash of gas as we're talking to Tim Brewer here, so we'll see what his prognostication is, whether he can make it or not. Okay?
18.5-second lead for Bobby Allison over Terry Labonte. Now in second, Cale Yarborough third. Ruttman drops to fourth in the overall standings with fifth, Harry Gant. The question is, will Allison have to pit? Will he have to come in? There he is with Ron Bouchard. Bouchard is running a lap down in 7th place. In 6th place is Elliott. Gant is also being shown as a lap down. Field coming by. Let's get this audio report from Larry Newbert.
Well, Ken, most of the other crews say that there's no way they can go 100 miles on one load of fuel. But the Allison crew, from crew chief to Judy Allison, Bobby's wife, who's been keeping the charge, insists they can go the distance, maybe even with a couple of extra laps. They will not pit. They are going the distance on what they were able to sneak into that gas tank the last time he stopped.
So Allison is still there. Can he stay there? What do you think, David?
Well, obviously one has to go with the prior knowledge of these other crew chiefs. Gosh, Ron Bouchard really got all crossed up there. And what was I saying here? Well, I would have thought that he'd be very pushed because everybody was coming in on about lap 32 the first time round, and nobody's gone more than about 35, 36 laps yet. If he can suddenly do over 40 laps, well, that's pretty good. How he's doing it, we don't know.
Allison came here for the first time in 1961, then missed for 4 years, came back in 65, and has been here every year since.
Terry Labonte coming into the pits, and it looks like he's run out of fuel.
Indeed, Labonte is coasting down to turn number 4. Number 9, Bill Elliott. 6th place car. Overlapped for a second time by the leader, Bobby Allison. Will this be his 66th win? Or will he come up winning this race by a gulp? 197 laps are complete. 3 laps remain in the Daytona 500, and there is Terry Labonte. Car being pushed frantically. It fires. 2 to go.
Got it going. It had run right out of fuel. It took them all that time to get the fuel pumped up in the tank back to the engine before it had fired. Larry Newber.
Harry Gant is on pit road. Gant pitting number 33. 5th place car is on pit road. Meanwhile, we're down to it. Will 88 create its own energy crisis here, or will it go home and win the 500? 24th running, looking for his second win. Comes into the tri-oval. White flag is out. This is it. Final lap. In second place now is car number 27, Cale Yarborough. Quick word from Larry Newbert.
You said you might be a little concerned about this last lap. Bobby has not been drafting.
Right. It consumes a lot more fuel not running the draft. We just got him hooked up with the 47 car 10 laps ago, but I think we got it now.
Well, less than a half ago, Ken. How's he doing?
Looking good. He's pulling up on car number 2, trying to put the Ruttman car a lap down in the final moments. Here it comes. A sprint to the finish. Allison coming down. And he's right behind Ruttman as they come to the line. Down the checkered flag about to come out. And sprinting to it is number 88. Bobby Allison has won the Daytona 500 for the second time in his career. Fender flapping a little as he came across. Second place, number 27, Cale Yarborough, twice a winner of the 500. And the terror of Timmonsville fighting that steering wheel right to the finish line. Cale Yarborough for second spot. Gary Ballou right behind him out of the top 10 as they come to the line. The third position will go to car number 2, our in-car camera machine, Joe Ruttman, being shown as third. What a race he's driven.
There we see him coming off turn 4.
Coming down to take the checkered flag. You're with Joe Ruttman. Now you're back with number 88, Bobby Allison, as he circulates around the track and takes a deep breath. Well, he pulled it off. Bobby Allison has won his second 500, becomes only the second man in history to do so. Cale's won it twice. Now Bobby's won it twice. There's Cale Yarborough, who has finished second today. The 67th career win for Bobby Allison comes in the biggest one of them all, the Classic, the Daytona 500. The other teams applauding as he rolls down pit road and shortly moves to victory lane where Ned Jarrett will be standing by. And here is Joe Ruttman on his cool-off lap. Thank you, Joe. And he just lets her coast up through the banking a little here. Here is Bobby Allison and his wife, Judy. His son, Davey, was here racing earlier this week. His brother making a comeback after his terrible, horrific crash at Charlotte, North Carolina last year in the World 600, which you saw on Memorial Day here on CBS. And now Bobby Allison is about to grace victory lane. Number 88, the Dygard Racing Team, swapping drivers this year. And an ecstatic combination of crew members, some of his enthusiasts and scorers, pushing this, what has been rocket ship, now 3,700-pound chunk up into the victory area. And there is Joe Ruttman headed back where all the other folks go, the garage area, when these things are over. The winner, Bobby Allison, pulls into victory lane.
One more. All right. I know you feel all right.
How does he get something to drink before they've even got him out of the car? I don't understand that.
They gave him in pit lane.
On your way, Bill.
But, well, he had a very much blessed race with Bobby Allison today.
A word from Ned Jarrett.
Well, Bobby Allison, as you can see, has a big smile on his face here as he unbuckles his safety helmet and the other safety paraphernalia, of course, that is mandatory in NASCAR racing. He's had a good couple of weeks here at Daytona. Of course, he won the Clash a week ago today and looked like was going to win the 125-mile qualifier on Thursday and got passed right at the line by Cale Yarborough, and Terry Labonte, I believe, was right in that thick of that too. But anyway, he wound up in third place and figured that he was such a contender in everything that went on here. He's in a brand new ride, the first time that he's driven this Jim Gardner Dygard on number 88. Now he comes out of the car and waves to the crowd. Gets a great reception. He was the most popular driver in 1981, an award that is voted on by his peers. Bobby, congratulations.
Thank you, Ned. I have to say the old Gatorade Dygard bunch really did it for me today. The car ran good, it handled good, they had great pit stops. I'm just tickled.
Well, I can see that and see why. Now, you lost that bumper early in the race. What effect did it have on the car?
Well, it made the car looser, and I was real worried for a while, but Gary adjusted on the car some for me, and or had the boys adjust on it, and they got it better and better as the day went on. So finally, it went pretty good except in the tri-oval. It really was wormy in the tri-oval, and before we lost the bumper, it was not.
Quite a contrast from a year ago today.
Yeah, it really is. You know, there was all sad faces last year, all glad ones this year.
Bobby, were you out of gas there at the end or close to out?
You had to quit on pit road, and that's why they had to push it in.
Well, boy, I'll tell you, you'll have an extra pair to say tonight. Well, his wife, Judy, is here with him, and a lot of jubilation in victory lane, Bobby.
Right, Ned, and I want to say I love Ronald Reagan.
All right, now back to Ken.
Bobby Allison, the winner of the 1982 Daytona 500, and we'll be back with more in just a moment.
Bobby Allison, congratulations. Fourth place went to
At an average speed of 153.991 miles per hour, Bobby Allison has recorded his second victory in the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. And for a closing thought about what we've seen here today, let's go to Brock Yates.
Thank you, Ken. Actually, two thoughts. One, they say in this sport that there's no place except first place. There is no second place. But today, there was clearly a second place. Cale Yarborough's effort was incredible. 190-mile-an-hour spin off turn 2, recovered. We have to know that that chassis was messed up in that ride across the grass, and yet he manhandled that automobile all afternoon. He's a terribly plucky man, but a very skillful man. And in this case, not to take anything away from Allison, surely the master driver of the day has to be Cale Yarborough's. The other thought is that we had some bad crashes here, and yet these automobiles, great old iron horses that they are, brought everybody through safely. A lot of people say that they're kind of crude. They don't have all those wonderful aerodynamic devices and titanium and space-age fabrication techniques that Formula cars have, but I'll take them every time because they demand the best of a driver, and when the driver loses them, they walk away from them, and I think they deserve an awful lot of credit.
You are so right, Brock Yates. Just amazing the amount of abuse those cars took today and came through and gave us such a great race right to the final moments, David.
Well, you can't help but say it was Bobby Allison's day. His car caused the first major wreck of the day. He was about 200 feet in front of the second major wreck of the day. He seemed to have more power than anybody else. He seemed to go further on the gas tank, so he couldn't really want a better day, actually.
It was by 22 and 8/10 seconds, which Bobby Allison defeated Cale Yarborough in second spot. Joe Ruttman coming across in third today. And they just told us Terry Labonte is recording fourth, with Bill Elliott fifth, Ron Bouchard sixth. Harry Gant coming across in seventh. And then it was Buddy Baker in eighth place. I want to thank so many people, particularly the folks in the truck for the great pictures, and the people here at the Daytona Speedway, Jim Hunter, Jim Foster, and all the rest who made it happen. For Larry Newber and Ned Jarrett, Brock Yates, David Hobbs, I'm Ken Squire. Thank you for being with us to enjoy the 24th running of the Great American Race, the Daytona 500.